my car!
Hello, and welcome to the Loose Butthole Reviews. I am your host, Smokey, and joining with me, as always, is my co-host, Spooge.
Hello. There we go. Hello.
And we're being a loosey-goosey. We only have one co-host joining with us today. We got Starfish joining with us again.
Hey,
And
it's
before we
me,
get
the fish.
and before we get into the review proper, as always, I have to give the 3 rules of our rating system. The first rule is it must be a fraction of 5. 1 means we hate it, 5 means we love it. Rule number 2, if we want our money back, we give it a good old Jeff Goldblum rating. And rule number 3, if we all agree that's doing the review that it deserves a God tier, a 6 out of 5, then it will get a God tier. And today we are reviewing Harold and Maude.
Yeah, that's right, Harold and Maude.
From 1971.
So, for any consistent listeners and stuff, we have, since I've joined this channel, there are a couple of different film genres that we haven't really explored. And I haven't picked a film in a long time.
I'm not
So
sure if
this is
we
my
ever done
first.
it. I think this might be the very first rom-com we've ever done on the channel.
Yeah, so this is my first pick for this month, and I chose probably my all-time favorite romantic comedy. If I had to, like, Desert Island had to pick a rom-com, this is one that I would take.
This is also considered a black comedy as well. Might want to.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
say.
it is. Yeah, it is black. It is pretty dark.
I
The
wouldn't say that
nature and
it's
tone of the
dark.
film is
I wouldn't say that it's pretty dark. The humor for it is definitely not your average humor.
yeah, but I mean, I guess I would say it's dark, just because of Harold's way that he is. Um,
Yeah,
and
but
in fact,
Being so goth.
there are a group of people that's gonna look at him and know what he's doing and find it comical what he's doing because
oh
that's what
yeah,
I
totally.
was laughing the whole time because I knew what he was
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, me too. And so, just a foreclosure here. There is a lot of unaliving, and in fact, the film or
it,
unaliving attempts, I guess.
they're not even
And it,
unaliving attempts. He basically admits it to his therapist that there are he is performing acts of unaliving himself, and that it is purely just his way of entertaining himself. He's not even
yeah, and
doing
we'll
it
de- and
like
we'll de- and we'll de-
it,
we'll-
this is in the very beginning.
yeah. We'll definitely get into it.
This is Loosey Goosey.
The
This is Loosey Goosey,
the list is
Starfish. This
okay,
is Loosey.
okay. But yeah, I mean, he admits to his therapist, right? So,
Yeah. He well
the
he
only thing the only reason
there's
I
a
was
back
like
and
bringing
forth
it up,
between these scenes.
yeah, the only reason I was bringing it up is because one of our members of this channel actually was incredibly triggered by the opening scene. Um, so that's why the darkness. I think it holds. For someone to be like, I didn't think that would
Mhm.
upset somebody super hard, but it extremely did. So
I can completely see, but that again, I also see the act of what what Harold was doing, so I can
I can
also
see it catching someone off guard, especially if
yeah
you
yeah
don't really
definitely if you're not
know anything
what
about this movie for that first one.
yeah, definitely. Um, but yeah, we can hop into it. The film opens up with a shot of some dress shoes and
what the
some
fuck are
nice
those?
slacks. Yep, yep. Damn, Daniel. And we see them walk down a flight of stairs. Um, they're walking around this kind of room. We start seeing kind of a little bit of how the room is furnished, and it looks to be maybe some type of study. However, everything is pretty ornate. All the furniture is pretty ornate, um, and we see
I thought it was a funeral
a
house at first, to be honest. I thought that this was
I could see that.
I thought what was
A
we
mortuary.
were we were watching the dude that like sets up the funeral house because he got real aggressive with that one chair that wasn't upright. He slammed it
Yeah,
upright. He got real mad.
yeah, yeah. It's true. It's true.
It's
Um,
like, hey man, what the
and
chair do? It didn't choose to be like that.
yeah, no, it didn't. It definitely did not choose to be that way. Um, and we see them kind of going through the motions here. And then we see the uh feet and legs kind of stand on top of a chair, and then we see them kick the chair out from under themselves, and we see someone hanging within the first, I don't know, five
and
minutes of the
I
film.
I understand that people would be like, "Oh, whoa," but if you know, you would understand that the initial swinging of the person is extremely too loose for the rope to have done any damage whatsoever. The
Yeah.
actual the actual asphyxiation that is happening is because he is bearing his weight down on the rope. It is that he is safely secured himself up there. He has made sure that
Yeah.
nothing bad could happen.
Yeah, pretty much. And as we see this, we see an early
It is a
middle-aged.
performance. It is a very good performance on his part, I will say, for the uninitiated, but for the people that know, it's like it's just it's too long of a rope.
Yeah, yeah, it's too long. It's not tight enough. There's a lot of issues with the rope in that first scene there.
There ain't
And then we
13
see.
notches. That's bad luck. That is bad luck
Well,
to
he
do
did it.
one without
Well,
13
that's what he.
notches.
That's. I
That's
mean, it's
another
his
thing.
luck. Yeah, it's his luck, I
You gotta
suppose.
walk up
Um,
13 steps and you gotta have 13 notches. It's lucky. It's not unlucky. I hate the stigma. I hate that stigma.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I have. In classic, what is that, offspring fashion. I mean, I have a 13 tattooed on me. It's small, but it's there
13 is my
because
favorite
it's
number.
lucky. Yeah, it's lucky. But anyways, so we see this guy hang himself. First 5 minutes of this film, we see a younger middle-aged woman um, open up the doors, and she sees this, and she just like looks kind of not super confused, but she goes over and she sits down in front of a telephone and she dials a number.
The
Now, anyone like first seeing this film is like, "Oh, she's calling the cops. Like what is going on here?" And it turns out no, she's just making a personal call. Um, and we quickly realize that the guy who hung himself, his name's Harold, and he did not commit self unaliving or anything like
just for
that.
context, I'm gonna add context. This is like performance number 14. He's done this performance before. That's why she ain't for this ain't the initial freak out. You can only do so many fake ones. You start repeating them over and over again, and that's when they lose their judge.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. And we find out that there's gonna be a dinner later tonight, and he needs to clean up and stuff. Um, and so he ends up or I think we end up just like flashing to the
To the
dinner scene.
therapist. It's
Is it
to
the
the ther.
therapist first?
I believe it's the therapist, and then we flash
I
to
thought it.
the
I thought the therapist was after the fact.
I know
But
that it flashes to the therapist almost after every attempt. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like they
yeah.
show an
No, I think you're
attempt,
right.
then
I
it's
think you're right.
then it's the therapist, then they go back, and then it's the
Yeah,
therapist
yeah.
again.
Yeah. So we hop to the therapist, and he's being kind of questioned about like why he
Like
is the way that he is.
I have to commemorate Harold. He's being a very well behaved patient and not actually like bullshitting he's being honest and forward with his answers. He's not like trying to trick his therapist into just believing his bullshit, which can
Well, you
be
got
a
it. You want your
very
therapist to like you.
I mean, no, you don't. You don't want your
You got to
therapist to
make up a
like you,
whole bunch of shit.
actually.
He's like, I don't even know why I'm here. I'm
Yeah,
just most perfect
it
motherfucker out there.
becomes a conflict of interest once they start liking you. They have to look at you like as a specimen, as a
Mm.
fucking as a project. Not,
Yeah, a problem
that's
to solve,
cold.
right?
That is cold to say, but that is true because once the conflict of interest starts getting, then their judgment gets skewed.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They're no longer non-biased. But anyways, so we flash to the therapist. We get a quick, realization that like, this is something he's been kind of doing for a while. Um, is pretty much like the sum of their talk for like the first early one. And then we flash back. We're at a dinner party, and Harold's mom is, just like running this whole party. She's clearly hosting it. It's definitely with like other socialites. Everyone is dressed really well. They're in a fancy dining room and stuff. And Harold says that he has a sore throat, which was hilarious because he hung himself earlier in the day, so he's got a sore throat from
Not
it.
not as that, but he bore his weight down to try to make it look a little more believable. Like
Yeah,
like he did that completely on himself.
yeah, yeah. And so she says, "Well, why don't you finish your dinner and go up to bed?" Because he doesn't, even though he's, we're not really sure what age Harold is at this point. That's something we should
it
probably
never
talk about too before we get too deep into this, because it never
I
it
can't
never
find it.
says.
I can't
Well,
I can't find it. I only see him
so
referred to as a young
so
man.
so I can
In
I can
none
provide
of
I
my
can provide
research.
it to you. So I can provide it to you.
If
So the director Hal Ashby has said that like Harold's supposed to be in his early 20s. So
I do not
he's
believe
supposed to he's supposed to be somewhere between like 18 and 22.
I
I'd
mean,
say
It
that's
makes
early
I
20s.
guess
makes
he's
sense to me.
lucky. He's super lucky, but he does not look like he's in his. He
So
looks like he's 16, 17. He looks like he's just underage.
yeah, so Spooge, I think I showed you pictures of what Bud Cort, who's playing Harold, what he looks like later on, and I would not consider that man lucky, because
I mean, he's an
he
old guy, you know.
he well, no, but I mean, so pretty much like he looks like that until he's like in his 30s, and then he's immediately like 50.
Yeah,
Damn.
So
that's a real
he is
quick.
not lucky. He did not age gracefully.
I mean,
But
once you're
anyways,
after 30, you don't care anyway.
I mean,
yeah, and
yeah. I mean,
yeah, I mean that that's fine. But like the thing of it is like, um, so we did watch this with Murda and with Tiny Dancer as well, and pretty much everyone upon seeing Harold, and I mean, admittedly myself, but like I've already seen it a couple of times, so like it was not a huge shock for me. Is that like Harold looks incredibly young. Um,
Hmm.
as Smokey was saying, like he does look like he's probably, if you're in a state where like 17 is the age of consent, he's 16.
Yeah,
like
he's
you
He-
know,
he's real 16 or Hollywood 12. Like movie 12.
but the problem with that is that he's also the way that they shot this is interesting because I did find out how tall the actor is. He's only 5'9", but they constantly make him look like he is so tall, and he is not tall.
he
Um,
looks
Which
super
5'9"
short
is
in
like
this.
mid.
He's 5'9" in this. He looks super short. They got a lot of tall
It
people
depends on who
around
he's with.
here. But
He's
how
just real
tall are
lanky.
these sons of motherfuckers? Everybody else is towering over him. How'd they do that?
It's
How'd they
good.
manage to do
When
that?
uh,
he's around the when he's around the women, he's taller. That's probably why
And he's
when he's with
taller than
Maude, he
Maude,
seems
but
so much
I
taller.
wasn't his
Yeah.
mom taller than him? I could have swore his mom was taller than
no,
him.
no, his mom's shorter
No.
than him.
I must have been tripping.
Yeah,
He's
probably.
got big old lanky legs and arms though.
Yeah,
And
he's
his
a twig. He's a
yeah
twigman. uh,
makes him look like he's taller to me at least.
yeah. And yeah. So they're at this
You
dinner
ain't got to
party.
beat around the. I try. I that was trying. He's a twink. You ain't got to beat around the bush, starfish. He's a twink.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not part of that community. I am an ally. So like, if that's what you determine him to be, then I'll take your word for it. Um, but he at this dinner party they're serving beets, and so he eats like all of the beets on his plate like super fast and stuff, and he's not swallowing them. And later on, the mom's like saying, "Oh, I'm so tired. It'll be so nice now that everyone's gone to finally relax and stuff." And Harold has set up a just beet covered bloody mess all in the bathroom. He's got himself in the bathtub covered with beads and stuff. He's got like all these blood sprays that are
Which I
just
guess we
chewed up
have.
beads
I
like
guess
all
we
over
have
the
to
mirror and
assume.
stuff.
I guess we have to assume that like he ate all those beets and then puked them back out to make the blood.
I was thinking he just like mashed them all up in his mouth and then went up to the bathroom and got like a cup and then like spit them all out into the cup and like so he could make all the beet blood.
He went and got more beats for sure. Like there was
Yeah,
more.
because it was
He
a lot.
went and got more beats. There was no way.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. Um, and then we flash to the therapist again, um, and the therapist is asking him an interesting question, and he says, you know, of all the things that you can do and that you do, what is that one thing that just like hits different? What is that one thing that like you enjoy so immensely? And he says, I like to go to funerals. And
I
then
mean, there's
we
some people
flash.
that this is a
What?
hobby that some people do. I mean, they're called mourners.
Yeah,
They literally just
yeah.
like if anybody needs somebody that literally has nobody coming to their funeral, you'll have 2 or 3 strangers to show up to cry, and they don't even know you. They just it's just what they do.
Yeah,
Weird.
and yeah, and I think it's kind
What's
of
weird about
interesting.
it? What's weird about it? You just want to honor the dead and get emotional
I
about
don't
it?
want no strange. I don't want no strange people crying for me. These people I don't know. But I'm a ghost and all confused, being like, "Who the fuck are you guys? Did I forget some people? What's going on? The dementia state that could be going on. Nah, fuck that. And fuck funerals. The industry.
Yeah, and actually, what's interesting about that too, Smokey, is that back in the day, it was kind of more of a common occurrence, like when our society was like more communal. However, like nowadays,
I mean, I
um,
understand when like towns were only like 100 people. Yeah, everybody knew who Tom was, and damn, Tom, man, you know what happened to Tom?
yeah,
We gotta go
yeah,
to his
but I mean,
funeral. It's
no, but I
Tom.
mean, like even into like the 50s and stuff, that was still like fairly common. Um, but nowadays, like as of like the 2000s and stuff, the people who actually like go to funerals consistently, like just because they want to go to funerals, they're actually referred to nowadays as funeral crashers, just like wedding crashers.
There are some
Like it's
there
not.
there are legit funeral
Oh yeah.
crashers that steal the fucking jewelry off the corpse right in the fucking. Yeah, I'm aware. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm aware.
yeah,
It is.
yeah. It's just kind of
It's back
wild
and
how
forth.
like it went from like kind of like a respectful, like, oh, that's a mourner, that's someone who just likes going to funerals, um to people who are called funeral crashers. Like the connotations behind those two different like names for the same type of person are
And
kind of drastic.
Well,
I know like
I think
some
there's a
probably have like a
drastic difference
potluck and stuff.
between a funeral crasher and a mourner. A mourner, I believe that there have been funerals that have both mourners and crashers at the funeral. You got some stranger crying while some dude is trying to pilfer the corpse. It's just humans are can be terrible people sometimes. Just terrible creatures.
Yeah. What were you saying,
Cretins.
Spooch?
Uh, oh, uh, oh yeah. I mean, I don't. Other than I guess yeah, pillaging the corpse. Which I mean, if you go to the funeral, like that's only gonna really be doable if it's like an open casket. But like also like I don't know how many of these like how many I guess maybe some do like have a potluck after maybe a place you'd meet. But most of the time it's just you go like outside at a graveyard and you watch a thing get lowered and then you leave. Like there's nothing really to pilfer.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the burial. The funeral is usually not at the burial and the funeral is usually separate.
uh,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, even still, though, I remember like the last time they were like there wasn't anything to eat. It was just like you're just in a cold like building.
I know the last
Or
funeral
the other one I
I
went to.
saw, we went to a
No,
church, but
we had the burial and
we
the
didn't look at the
thing
body at
at the same
all for
time
some
too.
reason.
Mm.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and I mean
I don't
like
like looking at the body.
different cultures have different things, Like I know that like for when my grandma passed and stuff, like we had a wake that was essentially like she was just there, just dead while we're all just kind of like around, which
Hmm.
is kind of weird to me. um, but
Wait. You like hold on. Y'all like had a home wake? Like y'all went
no,
to
no,
her.
no, no, no.
Okay, I
It
was
no, it
about
was no, it was at a different
some people
place.
do
It's
that.
just like
Some people legit do that though. Like they'll leave the body at the house for and let the relatives come and visit one last time before taking the body out of there.
yeah, no, it wasn't like that. I mean, like she had already kind of, had all the fluids and stuff drained and stuff, and she was, ready for her day of being lowered. But like, she was just there, just dead while we're kind of around and stuff. And then we had the funeral, and then we had the burial like shortly after. And then we had like a bunch of food and stuff like after the burial,
Hmm.
where we all got to drink her favorite alcoholic drink, which was like a really dry champagne, which was awesome being a 14-year-old kid and like people bringing me champagne. Um,
Hey.
I guess those are the crashers. Those are the ones that the crashers are looking
yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much.
boy.
for.
Yeah, pretty much. Um, but yeah, so anyways, we find out Harold likes to go to funerals, and so he goes to one, and he sees a lady off in the distance eating an apple. Um, but that's all we see of her right now. Um, then we flash forward a little bit, and Harold is picking out a hearse from a junkyard. And oh man, the cars in this film are also really good, which which I really like super enjoy because it's an old Chrysler hearse, which like had a V8. They're super cool. Like it's from the late '60s, so it's got like those like sweet like wings and stuff. Like it looks so good. I'm incredibly jealous, and I would love to drive one of those one day. Um,
I know we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but just in case I forget to mention, I mean, I never liked Jaguars. I always thought I don't know, they weren't. There was something that bothered me about them, but that Jaguar hearse.
That's because it looked
Oh
like a
That's what I
yeah.
want.
gremlin.
Oh
That's
yeah.
because it fucking looked like
Yeah,
a
it did.
gremlin.
It did look like a fucking gremlin, dude. That's exactly what I thought too the very first time I saw it. It's just a black gremlin.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's why I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone on the channel knows Spooge has such an affinity for fucking gremlins for some reason.
Hey, that's his
Because
dream
it's the only
car.
car I ever drive.
Is it just
Can you?
because it's called a gremlin?
It's It's also, I mean, that's a
I
bonus,
purple gremlin.
but
I
also just the way it looks.
plum purple gremlins are pretty choice. Have you seen a plum purple gremlin?
I have. I have
That's
in
the color
fact.
you want it to be,
I
right? You want it to be plum purple, correct?
Yeah. I like that they kind of look like little like Dodge, like even Swingers or even like Chargers, but like in bulldog form.
Just making sure I
Because
know
they're all
my best.
it's
This
because
is
they're all
how I know my best
smashed
friend.
together.
Yeah. Fucking awesome.
I can't. I mean, my dream car is legitly like a hearse or a Nissan Altima 2003 specifically. It's got to be a 2003. There's a very specific reason that it's got to be a 2003.
Everyone
Nice.
wants a hearse.
Yeah, it's true. Anyone who
Nobody
grew up
wants a
like,
Nissan Altima 2003.
I mean, except for
That's true.
you.
Hey, did
And whoever that song who did that song,
A Spose. His name is Spose.
yeah.
Spose.
So he also wants one too.
Your
So
boy.
so two people.
I see. He know. Your boys. Spooge knows. Spooge gets it.
It's in my main
Uh,
playlist.
and with his new hearse, he he comes back home with his new hearse and he's all stoked about it. He just like tears up the driveway, gets into the house and stuff, and like his mom is not cool with it like immediately, where she's like, I don't even know where you got that monstrosity. And she she basically tells Harold that, like, I think that maybe you need to go see your uncle, because Harold doesn't really have we don't really know what happened to Harold's father. He's just not in the picture. Um
I'm
and
not saying he's dead. I think he is a wealthy businessman that's just never around.
yeah, I mean, that could be and
Because
so
there's
anyways,
never like a mention of him passing or anything. I feel if they
no,
wanted
there's
to
not.
add, I feel if they wanted to add that little character thing, then they would have mentioned him passing in some form or fashion.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing we really get on Harold's father is at that first dinner party that they have. She's explaining to her guests like why Harold is eccentric, and that's because his dad was also eccentric, where he wanted to do some type of experiments in the Seine River in France, and so the police had to pull him out of it because he was like stark naked with purple arm floaties. What he was doing in the Seine River, we don't know. Like, she doesn't explain it. That's all we really get for like Harold's dad.
He was probably fucking
Um,
rocking it, man.
yeah, I mean, he's doing something. Uh, so Harold goes and sees his uncle, and his uncle basically tells him, like, you get into an age where you kind of need to start making decisions, and um, your mom's kind of concerned, like, with you buying the hearse and all. And he kind of just like goes off into a rant, which ends with, we need more. What is it? Captain Hale. I forget which exact like American World War II hero he's talking about. But he basically says like our society needs more of those, um, which is quickly followed up by Harold going to another funeral. Except this time he's actually attending the funeral. He's not attending the burial. Um, and there's a lady in the back that keeps trying to get his attention. And it's the same lady from before who was eating the apple. And she keeps, she's trying to get his attention. He's just kind of trying to ignore her. She eventually gets right behind him in the pew, right behind him, and offers him a licorice, and it's a black licorice too, which is just like
The
like
worst.
so gross
The
to me. like
I
like
know
no.
it's not, but this was the first sign. I was like, might be groomer danger here. Might be groomer danger. Who gives black licorice?
Yeah, totally. It's real weird. And so they kind of talk for a
I
little
don't
bit.
even know why they invented black licorice.
Yeah. I mean, I think it came first. Probably. I mean, red
Ooh,
licorice. If you're gonna have licorice, it has to be red. Otherwise, what are you doing?
I,
But
I, I gotta look this up now.
I,
I,
I
I
think old German women like it. I think that's what it's
yeah,
for.
old German women definitely like it. Um, and she starts talking to him and stuff, and she's basically saying like, I don't know why so many people have to wear black, like what's this obsession with black surrounding death, and like no one ever delivers black flowers, those are dead flowers. Can you imagine like
they
having dead flowers at a funeral? It's absurd. And
that is truly absurd. And you know what else is absurd? You know what fucking else
what's
is
that?
this guy? Goddamn black licorice was invented first. This is a goddamn
Oh, I knew
travesty.
it.
This
I
is
knew it.
terrible. This is awful. The second red licorice was invented. This shit should have been outlawed. It's poison. It's poison. There's a reason why it's black. It's terrible. It's nasty.
Hey, Genesis says that Earth started as a formless void.
Black
So
licorice is so disgusting.
that's the black licorice. The black licorice needed to make the red licorice.
Yeah, it's true. It did. And thank goodness that it did, because I don't know how we'd live in a society with only black licorice.
I I
That'd
wouldn't
be
live
fun.
in that timeline.
I don't need. I
Definitely
mean,
I would perform conscious time crime and get the fuck out of that timeline. That timeline. Oh, I feel so sorry for the timeline that only has black licorice.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
truly the
yeah, I
evil
feel sorry for
timeline,
them
man.
too.
That's the evil
Yeah,
timeline.
the darkest one. Um, but yeah, and so they walk outside and stuff, and Maude, or the lady's just talking to him, and she gives him her full name, um, which is, I forgot. Give me one second.
I just know it's Maude. I just know Harold and Maude. They're the only two
Y-
names that I remembered in this.
Yeah, but she's
Unfortunately.
got like such a so her full name is Dame Marjorie Chardin.
Okay.
That's her full name, but she says just call me Maud.
Is it Charday or
And
Charday?
Chardin.
Chardin. Okay.
Um, and she tells him the full name. They introduce, they know each other's names now and stuff, and she straight tells him like, I think we're gonna be really good friends. Like I just have a feeling we're gonna be great friends. And she gets into this little blue Volkswagen's Beetle and rolls down the window and says, "Oh, do you need a ride?" And he says, "No, it's okay. I have my own car." And then they part ways, and then she hollers back at him, "Do you sing and dance?" And he's like, no." And she like mimics it back to him, and it's just like cute and hilarious and like sweet too, because she's like,
Also,
"Oh
it's
no,
revealed like as
I
she's driving away too. Like the priest is like, "Hey, that's my car."
Oh, this
yeah."
is
So
the
yeah,
first.
so
This is when. This is the
this is
first
the first
instance
theft.
of GTA. Oh man, she needs to be a protagonist, and I know they're not gonna be. They're probably not gonna be. If there's a third protagonist in GTA 6, it better be a fucking mod. It better be fucking Maude.
Yeah, that would be sick. But yeah, so we find out that like this is not her car, and she drives it like an absolute maniac. And the priest, is like, "What? This is my car," and like freaks out and stuff. Um, and Harold hops back into his hearse and leaves. Gets back home, and his mom is like, "Look, you're not listening to your uncle, you're not listening to me, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to get you a wife." And there's this dating service from the school, um, that like you take a questionnaire and then it's supposed to match you up with people, um, which was like a thing that was like starting to happen in the early 70s, because computers were just like starting to become available for like
Mhm.
college kids and stuff, and so they did do like lots of programs like that, which I thought was really
and,
cool.
and would
um,
later really pick up in Japan too, and still is
yeah,
very popular.
yeah, and so she starts answering the questionnaire and she's like, "Oh, yep, that sounds like you, Harold." But then like as we go on through it, um she's like, "Oh, like I absolutely do. Do you think that this should be that?" "Well, yes, of course. Why wouldn't it be that?" She starts kind of answering it like in her own way, like without Harold's consent. And Harold this whole time is playing with a revolver. um, he's kind of like holding it, fondling a little bit. He rolls the barrel, or he rolls the chamber of it, and he turns around and points it like point blank at his mom. And we're not really sure of Harold at this point. We know that he is doing these multiple fake suicide attempts to his mom for some reason.
Eh,
Um,
they're magic. They're elaborate magic tricks. That's basically what it is.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. And then
I know why.
he points it at his mom, doesn't turns back around because she's not paying it. She's not even looking at him. She's just focused on this questionnaire. Turns around, points it at himself, and then fake shoots himself and like pops the chair back and stuff. And the only thing his mom says is like, "Oh, honestly, Harold." And then she continues answering the questionnaire some more. Um, we then hop back with the psychiatrist a bit more, um, and he's basically asking him, like how many like I think is I don't remember the exact conversation, but him and the psychiatrist hang out for a little bit. Um, and the therapist basically gives him the advice of like you need to start like living life for yourself and stuff, and which is not really helpful advice at all. But then he goes to the next funeral, um, and they're all standing around at the burial, and Maud across the like crowd goes "Psst," like really loud, like in the middle of the priest's speech. And Harold like has to take off his sunglasses, like looks at her, doesn't really know, and then Maud just like springs up behind him. um and they they have another like pretty cute conversation about like, well,
Oh,
why do
sorry
you
to
like going
interrupt,
to
but
funerals?
sorry to interrupt. There's a little thing just because I really like the little thing in the scene of like before she springs up on him, like as everyone's walking out from the funeral, like she's dressed like in the only one that isn't in black. She's like
Yeah.
what she has like a pink dress and like
Yeah, yeah, so she's
a
got a
yellow
pink.
bright yellow umbrella.
Yeah, she's
Hey,
got
now
big blue shoes, a pink
some
dress,
people
a
don't have
white
black in their
overcoat, and a
wardrobe.
yellow umbrella.
Mhm.
In in,
And not only
in
that,
her defense,
not only that, she's leading the whole line of them, like leading them proudly,
in
like the
her
flyest motherfucker.
in her defense, some people don't have black in their wardrobe. That is
I mean,
true.
Sure, that's absolutely true, but like I think it's a conscious choice. She
Yeah,
looks at
I mean,
funerals as
she is
celebrating
doing that
life.
as a conscious choice, but I'm not gonna blame the 80-old lady that's dying.
She's
Yeah,
reverse
so
gothing.
yeah, she is reverse gothing. She's she's turning it into bubblegum goth. Um, but yeah, so she's we should mention too one of the conversations they've had, and it might be here or it might have been beforehand. We find out that like she thinks 80 is a really good time to go. And she's 79 right now. She's going to be 80 in a week. Um, and that's will be important later. Um, so uh they they end up walking out and stuff, and they're just kind of talking. The priest uh catches up with Harold and goes, "Did you know that lady who like stole my car and stuff and all that kind of thing?" As he's saying this, Maude is whipping around the corner to where Harold is in his hearse. Like she has stolen his hearse. um and she basically tells him like get in, and then they like leave, and she drives like a maniac in the hearse, just like going like super fast and like
she
like really pushing the hearse to
she
its
would be
limit,
called a
which is cool.
trendy. She would be called a trendy. That's the opposite of a goth. They're called
Oh,
trendies.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a
I'm not
stupid
even gonna. You
term,
know
but
what?
it's
Okay.
Let me elaborate because that's not even what I'm trying to say. I think reverse goth wasn't the right thing.
well,
It.
reverse goth
I feel
is a
like
thing.
it's still the
See,
goth.
I had to correct this
Let
because
him
reverse.
explain. Let him explain. Let him explain.
Okay,
What she is that she's got the goth attitude down. Like she's got like into the death, into the funerals. But but the outward appearance is instead of doing the dark, she likes to be cute, like the fucking bright the bright goth. Same attitude though, because she's still like in the funeral,
I just wanted to like I
And you know
gotta.
what? She's sticking it to their faces too. Everybody wearing black. Oh, look at me in my bright colors, motherfucker. I'm the outcast, still the goth attitude.
Okay, rebuttal, Smokey.
I
What?
was just trying to say that we can't say reverse goth because reverse goth means that she is a still a goth chick, but she doesn't roll that way,
Oh,
according to Urban
Okay,
Dictionary.
okay.
right on. Yeah, I mean, that's why I like the term like bubble goth or bubblegum goth, because like I think that kind of fits her aesthetic, um, somewhat,
hmm
where she's kind of creepy and kind of weird and stuff, but like bright colors more than
hmm
dark colors.
Yeah, because goth
Um,
is all about the kind of like, ooh, that's weird, but it's kind of hot.
yeah, pretty much.
That's
um,
that's goth at its best.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And so we are now in Harold's hearse with Maud driving, only for Maud to realize that, like, oh, this is your car. Well, then I guess you're going to have to drive me home. So she takes him home, and we find that Maud is living in a decommissioned railroad car. Um, and, she doesn't
Hey,
really
Teenage Mutant
care.
Ninja Turtles can do it. Why can't she?
Yeah, totally.
Your boy.
She's got this like in her railroad car, she's got all these like wonderful, like very Studio Ghibli-esque, um, everything's crammed. There's all these like little trinkets and different things and stuff. We don't get to find out too much about it right now. Because Harold unfortunately has to go, because he has his first date. And so she offers him oat tea and all this stuff, and he basically is like, well, I can't, like, I have to go. And both of them, before they leave, both say like, oh, well, I really hope I get to see you again. um, so they Harold leaves, and he goes to his very first date. um, the date is being introduced with the mom. They're walking in, and she's just kind of talking to this lady, um, and she's like, "Oh, Harold's out in the back," and we see Harold, like
Isn't
in
this
the
the second?
backyard.
Isn't this the second date?
Nope. The first one is him setting himself on fire like the Tibetan
Well, he's
monk.
not setting him. Say he's setting a blanket on fire.
Yeah,
He's not
but
setting
anyway,
himself on
so
fire. I'm just clarify for YouTube's sake. He is not setting himself on fire. He is setting a blanket on fire.
But I'm
yeah,
about to right now.
so so he's in the back, and she thinks that he's still back there, and he gets all of this blanket set up and like douses it with gasoline and stuff, sets it ablaze, and as it starts burning, he walks in to greet his date, and she thinks that he's still out there. So he introduces himself only for her to see the fire, freak out, scream Harold, Harold, and then like just busts out and leaves.
I mean,
Um, because she's
she
never seen that before.
if she failed when she left, if she ran out and tried to put out the fire, she would have passed the test. But she failed the test hard. You don't leave. You don't. That,
Yeah.
what the fuck? What the fuck? That's what. Like that's the last thing you do when someone sets a sheet on fire. You go put out the fire.
Even a rhino knows that.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I mean that's what would be my first instinct is to put out the fire because like fire can spread,
Yeah,
pretty
I mean,
easily generally
especially
if
with
it's
all that
starting to get
brush,
going.
all that brush that was
Yeah,
around the sheet.
yeah, yeah. It was a lot.
He put it on a wooden like it was a wooden stool that he put the sheet on as well.
Yeah, yeah. It was. So I'm
He
sure
doesn't
that's
believe in consequences. He's rich.
yeah, pretty much. He
that
doesn't really know
that's
what
truly what
consequences
why
are.
he's doing all this. Oh, did we totally missed the we totally skipped one of the what everybody that's like the second one that they show. I know that it is
The pool.
him in the pool. We skipped over that. That is the
Yeah,
second
Oh
one.
yeah, yeah.
we
It's very,
yeah.
it's a
That
very
is the second
nonchalant
one.
too.
let's be honest. Let's be honest. How many of us have actually done this? Say I.
I have.
I.
I.
No.
What?
I mean,
What?
not in a
Bullshit.
way to trick. I mean, I've by myself of like pretend to be drowning, but like, I mean, not
No,
That
drowning,
I used.
counts.
but like
That
like a
counts.
corpse. But
That fucking counts.
I've never like I
You-
never did that to trick anybody into thinking that I was drowning. I never did that. I never was like, "Oh, help me!" and then that made somebody
No,
come and get me.
he wasn't doing that either. He was just doing. He was just sitting. He just float.
The
No, I was
limp
just
body.
floating like a corpse. Yeah, yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, everybody. See. You
It's
can't-
just
Yeah.
enjoying the water.
Yeah, and I mean, like I've done it in public pools like many a time as a kid because like I wanted someone to come and like give me attention essentially.
That nobody comes. Nobody.
No,
fucking-
nobody ever comes. Nobody ever messes with you when you're doing that. They just leave you alone.
They know what
It-
you're doing.
That or just the sheer. I'm not fucking with that problem. That's not my problem.
Yeah,
once you
pretty
no-
much.
Once you notice it, then it's your problem. That's your problem. Yeah, if you acknowledge
That's
it,
why-
then you
That's
have to be
why you
responsible.
pretend. That's why you pretend not to notice it. If you went and fucked with the person, that means you notice it. But if you continue
Audibly
to just,
go, silly kids.
No, you don't even do that. You just keep on swimming. You just keep on swimming.
And yeah, so that is the second or the third, I guess, technically attempt. Right? Because we got the hanging, we've got the blood in the bathroom,
It's the
we've
fourth
got
or
the
fifth
pool.
attempt, but canonically, it's like the 17th or 18th attempt. He's already said that he's.
Yeah, I'm
attempted
sure
it
he's
15
and I'm sure
times.
he's probably yeah, and I'm sure he's probably already done that one before too to her.
I mean,
Like
he's
that wouldn't
getting more
surprise me at all.
the sheet one was kind of elaborate. I will say that was a good magic trick. See, that's what I'm saying. He would be a great magician. I don't get why everybody is like freaking out.
But but
He's just perfecting his magic.
honestly, honestly, I think like for that rich mother, I think like being a magician doesn't help the situation.
No, no, it does not. It makes it worse. I would say
Makes it
significantly.
harder for you to get laid.
Yeah, pretty much. And so after the Tibetan monk thing, we hop back with the therapist, and the therapist asks him an interesting question, which is, "Do you have any friends?" Um, to which he doesn't really want to say, but the therapist pulls it out of him, and he's like, "Oh, I think I have one, maybe." And therapist is like, "Oh, well, do you want to elaborate on that?" And he's like, "No," like immediately,
I'm
like he does
still
not want.
wary. I know I shouldn't be, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of wish Murda and Tiny Dancer was he, cause I just don't know how comfortable I should be feeling with this. I
Yeah. Uh, so I mean, I did speak with them about this film earlier today, and I'm gonna paraphrase them both a little bit, but like both of them thought it was, very sweet, and was like a pretty good rom com. Um, Murda in specific was confused the first time watching it, but like really enjoyed it upon a second watch.
Now don't get me wrong. I love. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, I guess, but I like that. I really love this movie, but it's
Yeah,
I'm still weary of the relationship state, and that is solely because Harold looks so young.
Hmm. And
yeah,
It
I'll
is
definitely
something that I
hold
cannot ignore.
I definitely hold my opinion until final thoughts about that too. So that's
yeah.
that's why I'll be kind of silent anytime.
Um, after this conversation with the therapist, he drives back to Maud's house, but Maud isn't there. So he goes next door to Glaucus's workshop, where Glaucus is standing in front of a huge, giant thing of ice. And he tells Glaucus like, "Oh, I'm looking for Maud. I don't know like if you've seen her or not." To which we find out Maud is nude behind the ice block. And Harold seems both bewildered and embarrassed by these things.
There's a little
Um,
curious twinkle in the eye. There's a little
yeah,
curious twinkle. He's
yeah,
curious, which I can't.
yeah,
Like I said in our group chat while we were watching this, he just likes wine, man. He just likes
yeah,
wine.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you can't have the 20. I'm not saying 28-year-old wine ain't bad, but we all know 80-year-old wine is better.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. There's a reason why you pay, up many thousands of dollars for old wine.
They do. It does stuff with its tongue that the young wine just can't do yet.
Yeah, pretty much. Um, and so they reconvene at Maud's house, and Harold immediately is like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Like, I hope I wasn't intruding on anything." Because keep in mind, this is the first time he's like seeked out Maud, and because of that, like, he doesn't know her and Glaucus's relationship. Like, he doesn't really like super know her yet. And she basically tells him like, "Oh, that's just Glaucus. Like, I pose every once in a while just because he forgets the curves of a woman's body and stuff, and there's like nothing there. Essentially, is what she's saying." Um, and they get to have the oat straw tea and the ginger pie. Um, while the kettle's heating up, Maud shows him around her place. And the very first thing that she shows him is something so cool. It's a smellograph. And what it is she modeled different smells off of different places. And so you plug this big tube in, and then you pump this thing that like makes the airflow, and you hold it to your face, and you can smell like whatever she was trying to capture.
I know what this
And
really is. I know it. This is the Zaza. She got the Zaza in them canisters. I saw the look on Harold's face. That's definitely the Zaza. Vaping the Zaza. This is
Yeah,
an elaborate vape.
yeah, pretty much. 1970s
They do
technology and
hookah.
all.
I hate to jump a little ahead, but they do
Oh,
hookah
okay.
later.
I didn't know what you were talking about.
Yeah,
I
they
thought
do.
I thought I thought that was like slang for like some type of like fart
You
fetish
don't know.
thing. I thought that's
You've
what
never
you were
heard
getting
the word the
at.
Zaza before? You don't know what the
I
Zaza
thought,
is? Oh my
I thought you was
god.
putting some dookie
No,
up in
he know.
that.
Nah, he knows what the Zaza is.
You know what the
I
Zaza
don't know what
is.
the fuck it's Zaza is.
You
Yeah, you
I don't
do.
vape.
Don't
you
lie.
smoke
I'm a smoker.
you smoke on the
I don't fear
Zaza.
death.
You smoke on the Zaza. Yeah, I bet you got some Zaza right in front of you.
Zaza, I have a bong.
You got some. Oh my god, you got some fucking Zaza right there, dude.
Oh
Wait, how
yes.
can a Zaza be a? Well, okay, wait a second. How can a Zaza be a bong in a vape and
Zaza
and a
is
cigarette?
slang for weed, dude.
Oh, like a weed vape. I don't know the brand. Yeah, I thought you were talking about tobacco vape.
Yeah,
For
dude.
the,
Yeah.
for the marijuanas.
I don't know
But
anything about vape marijuana.
but anyways, so she shows him that, and then she shows him, just like all these different art pieces, and basically explains to him that, like, she's a an artist. Like, she wanted to do a lot with like different senses for mediums, and this accumulates in her showing him this like wooden piece, um, that is very what's a good term for this? It is very vagina shaped.
Yeah, and Harold shows
And
just
the
how
cat
much of a
the
curious boy he is. Oh, he's
yes, he
such a
does.
curious
So
boy.
He wants
the
to
cat
crawl back in. Oh,
yeah, he does.
This goes
He
to a
puts his
theory
whole
I have,
fist.
too, later.
He puts his whole
But-
fist.
Yeah, but before any of this, it's really kind of sweet and romantic, because Maud tells him, I wanted to make things that were tactile, so I made this, and the kettle starts going, and she goes, "Well, I have to go get the kettle, but use your palm and caress and your fingertips and
Hey, teaching him,
explore and feel."
teaching him, teaching him, teaching
Yeah.
him, getting him ready for the. Can I say for the touching of the bass?
Yeah, pretty much. um, and so he's like pretty entranced by this thing. And he's messing around with it and feeling it up, and puts his head in it, puts his fist in it, like he's touching it all over. And
I
then she
forgot that
comes
he
back
put
with,
his whole ass fucking head in it. He does.
yep, yeah, he does.
just shoves it right in
Uh,
the
It's a very important scene.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great scene. Like, I think it's a excellent scene of like both foreshadowing, as well as like Harold exploring, and like yes, physically he's
Exploring a
touching this
little too
object
much
that
with the
Maud
head.
made.
The fist.
Okay.
The fist. I will. Okay. Fist. People like that. But the head. That going in head first. That's a bit. That's a bit drastic.
It's almost like he lacked a mother figure, like one that was
Yeah.
attentive to him, and like he wants to like
Yeah.
crawl back into this lady's womb instead.
Yeah, it's pretty close to that. I think that would be a good way to put that, Spooch.
Thank you.
So she comes back with the ginger pie. We should mention too here that ginger pie like isn't really a thing. She is redheaded, and I think this was the director and or writer's attempt at being like, "Oh, Harold's eating Maud's ginger pie." Wink.
Yeah, boy.
Like,
Oh
because
shit, yeah, boy.
I looked it up, and like ginger pie really isn't that much of a thing, and it became like popular through this film, I guess you could say. But like the recipe is based off of the movie, so like it didn't really exist like prior to this film. So I think that was
It
a pretty
wasn't.
big like wink and a nod.
Yeah, that there
Um,
was
Gotta
no
make the
such. There is
ingredients to
no.
cover the
The
tracks.
ginger pie is a goddamn lie.
yeah, pretty much. And so they have a pretty nice time on this like encounter and stuff. Um, and unfortunately, Harold has to return yet again to his house because he has another computer date. Um, and with this one, um, it seems to be kind of like going okay. They're like in the big room and stuff, and they're all talking, all three of them. Um, Harold. Um,
Is this the
oh wait.
actress?
Oh no no.
Oh
I'm
no,
sorry. No,
this
I
is the
jumped. I
one.
jumped.
Okay,
I
no,
jumped
no,
ahead a
you
little
didn't.
bit. I
You
jumped ahead a
Okay.
little bit. I
This
jumped
is
ahead a
the.
little bit.
This is the date. We're on a date. You jumped a tiny bit. We are on a date. This is the one where he pretends to chop his hand off.
Yes.
I
Prior to
completely
this,
forgot about
Oh
that one.
yeah.
the part that I missed is that when Harold returns home, um, his mom has given him a car because she's tired of looking at the
Oh, this
monstrosity
this
that
is.
was
I
his
I don't know
hearse.
if it's intentional foreshadowing, but it's some good unintentional foreshadowing if it's not.
Yeah, and so she got him a little Jaguar convertible coupe,
If you're
and
paying
it is
attention, he's driving a tank, and now he is driving one of those dinky plastic Playmobil cars. That is the comparison.
yeah, and it's I mean it's a Jaguar sports car, so it's not only
It's
expensive but it's also fast.
true, and it's very lightweight. It's a very lightweight car. Very,
Yeah,
it's not as heavy as the hearse. Hearse, you're gonna have to take them turns a bit slower, and the Jaguar, even in the you can see in the movie, it takes them turns so fucking rough that because it's so lightweight. Like it's such a light
yeah,
car.
yeah. And so Harold, in classic Harold fashion, rebels against his mom's gift because he doesn't want his mom's gifts. He wants his mom's attention. And so he basically hersifies the Jaguar.
I mean, I
While
know he
he's
doesn't understand this, but the gifts are his mom's attention. Like that's how he's gonna get his mom's attention
no, I
through the
well,
gifts.
I mean, he's not old enough to understand like love languages or like any of that stuff at this point. I mean,
Mm.
he's just a kid. But anyways, so he hersifies the Jaguar, and while he's in the middle of doing that, the second date arrives, and the mom is bragging like, "Oh, I just got him this new car. It's such a beautiful little car," and all this stuff. And then they walk down to the garage where he's like just finished up hearsifying it, and she sees it, and she's just all like, "Well, it looks like a hearse." and from there, Harold's mom's obviously like embarrassed because she had just spent all this time bragging about Harold's new toy. And so
I
she's like,
mean,
"Well,
what's
Harold,
wrong
why
with
don't you
it?
get cleaned up and then meet us in the big room?"
What's wrong with it, Mama? What's wrong with it? What's the problem? It looks
Yeah, it's
exactly the
well,
Cooler.
same. It's just better. I made
yeah,
it better.
yeah,
What the fuck?
You can
yeah,
haul stuff now.
yeah, yeah. It's true. I mean, before I mean, talk about a two-seater car. I mean, that thing didn't really have a trunk, like, and if it did, it was minuscule. Um,
Yeah.
wouldn't the
but yeah,
wouldn't the motor be in the wouldn't the motor be in the back of this Jaguar and the trunk be in the front?
no,
It wouldn't be.
no,
It would have a
no,
boot.
not with this model.
Huh.
Yeah, it would have a boot. It would have a trunk.
Oh yeah, because it was convertible. Convertible. My bad.
Yeah,
My bad. Gotta
yeah,
have the. Gotta add the boot.
yeah. But
I'd drive
anyways,
this.
um, so Harold comes back in. And Harold and his mom are having this pleasant. Harold's mom and this lady are having a very pleasant conversation about like what she does for a living and stuff. And when Harold walks in, sits down, he doesn't really say anything. Harold's mom's like, "Oh, she's a file clerk for this one company, and they supply like all the feed for like the Southwest and like all this stuff." And Harold just kind of sits there for a little bit, pulls out a cleaver, and then just chops his hand off. To which
He
we
does
then
it. He
see,
chops a
Clumsily.
fake. He pretends to chop his hand off. It's just another
yeah,
magic
he
trick
doesn't,
because he go boop, it pops
yeah.
back up. Oh, it's magic, man. He's just performing magic. I'm really just trying to save our asses from YouTube, man.
Okay. Yeah, but anyway, so Harold fake disarms himself, I suppose. And she's basically like, it just like gets silent, and then she leaves. Like we just see her leaving the
He's
grounds.
mind freaking his dates, man. He keeps
Yeah,
mind
it's true.
freaking them.
Yeah,
Mind freak.
it's true. Harold and his mom have another conversation where she basically tells him like, "You only have one more date, and like I'm kind of losing like my will to continue doing this with you. Like this is becoming ridiculous." Um, and then he has another date with Maud, and it's um, it's pretty sweet, um, because they hang out. Um, he just goes to Maud's house and stuff, and this is where they like stroll. Like they have a picnic at a cemetery. They stroll through some flowers and stuff. Um, they go to a greenhouse nursery, and this whole time, Maud's kind of monologuing about how like she sees such beauty like in the natural world around them, of like, these plants, they start from nothing, they grow, they bloom, they make more plants, then they die, and they continue to do this, and like it's beautiful. And while they're driving around, um, Maud sees a tree that is like withering and dying on this public property. So she immediately like pulls over. She's in a like, first off, like she's in a stolen car. She's driving another stolen car. And she like pulls like parks it like half on the curb, half off the curb. They just fling the doors open, leave them open, and then like go and inspect this tree. Um, and she's like, well, we have to figure out a plan, like we have to save this, this poor tree and stuff. And Harold's like, but this is public property. And she's like, yeah, I know. Like, if it's public property, then like of course it belongs to Maud. And so Harold's like, well, now the cops are like all over this car and stuff. And so Maud's just like, oh, pish posh. And she like rolls up on these cops, and she's like, oh, did someone not park very well? Because they didn't see her park this car. And they're like, yeah, we don't really know whose vehicle this is, or like what's going on with this. And she's like, what about that one up there? And it's an old school, like 1968 Ford Mustang. And they're like, oh yeah, that one's parked perfectly fine. And so she just like, Harold and Ma just like go up to it, get into it. She waves her hands at the cop. The cop like starts waving his hand too, and as he's doing so, she peels the fuck out, runs through like goes through oncoming traffic, turns through a stop sign without stopping, and then just peels away, like tires screeching the whole entire way.
I, I,
And
I
it's
mean it.
just great.
If she's not in Grand Theft
Denver.
Auto 6, she better be Grand Theft Auto 7. Mod better be in Grand Theft Auto. God damn it! I swear, you're doing a disservice. It's a missed opportunity. Missed opportunity if Mod is not a protagonist in one of the GTA's. It better be GTA 7 if it's not GTA 6.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that'd be
I'm gonna
cool.
die
I
on
would
that
I would
hill.
actually love a mod
Mod
character.
Theft Auto.
Yeah,
Mod Theft Auto.
I do think that like there could be like a pretty awesome like mod for Grand Theft Auto where like the mod was of mod.
I mean,
You
you
could
can
call it mods mod.
in in Grand Theft Auto
Not to be
Online, you can
confused with Mad
create
Mod.
in Grand Theft Auto Online, you can create your own character. I'm pretty sure there'd be a way to just create a mod
Yeah, that'd be
Make
sweet.
mod.
in GTA Online. Be the ultimate
Hashtag
grandma.
make mod.
Make a mod.
Give us the release the mod. um, but yeah, and then we let's see here. What do we do next? Oh, the next thing we do is we try to rescue this tree together. And so they somehow get like an El Camino and Glaucus's shovel, and they have it strapped to the back of the El Camino, and Maud is driving, and she's hauling ass, like she is going so fast, and she blows right through a toll booth. So a motorcycle cop comes and waves him, puts sirens on, waves him down and stuff. And she is, he's like, "Do you have any idea what you just did, lady?" And like all this stuff. Starts trying to give her the business, and she basically is just all like, "Oh," like uses his words against him to basically make it seem like she's free to go. And so she just peels out again. Um, and she uh they get to where they're needed to go, um, and they plant the tree, and we get like a lot of dialogue again from Maud, basically saying like, we rescued this tree. I love the smell of soil, the feel of it.
Oh, whoa,
Uh,
whoa, 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 hold! While we were just on the scene, you completely skipped over Okey Doke and the cop, and I'm not okay with that. She makes this cop look like a complete fucking fool, dude.
Oh
yeah,
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 she
yeah. I
kicks
mean,
it to
she
the
does.
man. Kicks it to the fucking man.
Yeah, she does. I mean,
she
so
she
it's so
performs
it
a
happened. It
grand.
so hold on. So it happens twice,
Yeah.
and then a third time. So I just going past the first one here because they got to plant the tree, and then we're gonna get the other times.
No, the first time happens, and then the second time happens right after the first time. They still have the tree in the back of the El Camino when she does the Okey Doke Grand Theft Auto style and does the donuts around him. Whoo, yeah. She still got the tree in the back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then she peels
Okay.
off, and they
Yep.
show, and then they do the burial,
And then
not
there's
the
another one.
replanting of the tree, and then we get to the other Okey Doke. Now we're on the planting of the tree.
Okay. All right. So in the planting of the tree, we get something pretty cool here, um, because we have Maud planting the tree and stuff, and something that she says is the earth is my body, my head is in the stars. And she asks Harold, "Who said that, Harold?" And Harold says, "Well, I don't know." And then Maud says, "Well, I suppose I did then." And I didn't do like a super lot of research on this film, but I did want to try and figure out who quoted that because I always watch with closed captions on, and it does have a quote around that the earth is my body, my head is in the stars. And so I looked it up, and she is quoting herself. She's not
Okay.
quoting anyone. Like it's just a quote that she made
I
up.
mean, I wouldn't be
And I think that
surprised if that was like
and
a Greek saying or something. That's why.
yeah, me either. Like it sounds like it could be a saying and stuff. And so the fact that like, you know, she's quoting herself in a film and like thinks it's a quote is just like it has, that double layer of humor, and then on top of that it also has this like existentialist like humor slash drama realism to it where it's almost absurdist, like this line, and I just think it's brilliant. It's brilliant writing. um, so they plant the tree, and then they get back on the road. The cop is in the middle of writing someone else a ticket, and basically tells them, "Wait, hold on," and then like
Like
immediately
the person is
starts
gonna hold,
chasing after them up.
like the person's gonna hold on. You know that person get the fuck
Yeah.
out of there. They was like, "Woo, you boy!" Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
They probably
Pretty
went and bought a
much.
lottery ticket after that shit, getting me some
Oh,
scratch offs.
yeah. I mean, I would have. I would have gotten like I probably would have gotten like one $10 one, two $5 ones, and like one $1 one.
It's my lucky fucking day, boy.
Yep, one of these is gonna hit. I just know it.
And this is I'm a little upset. I'm a bit upset about the shovel.
Yeah. So she gets pulled over again. By the same motorcycle cop who has tried to pull them over twice now. This is the third pullover, and gets she pulls over, he gets off the bike, storms up to the car, and he basically goes, "All right, get out of the car. I've had enough of this funny business." And he opens the door, but he opens it too hard, and it like flings open and then immediately flings closed. And that shit, like
Classic,
I don't,
classic
yeah,
mistake.
yeah, yeah.
Immediately removing any sense of authority.
Yeah, pretty much. And the other thing with that too is I don't think that was planned. Like I don't know for a fact, but that seems like something where the actor accidentally did that and they decided to keep it in because it was so hilarious.
It was a
Like
great moment. It was hilarious.
yeah.
They,
And
you can't say respect my authority after that moment.
no.
It was like
Um,
perfect, like slapstick, but like also it just like flowed so natural, and that's why definitely I agree that it must have just happened. It's natural slapstick.
that is
yeah,
something that
exactly.
I've actually done. I've actually opened up, like, you can do that accidentally. You're used to opening up a heavy car door, and then you go to a car door that's made of fucking plastic, basically. You open it up too fast, and then it fucking closes on you again. It
Yep.
happens.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And so then after that, he leans in the window and is basically like, "All right, come on, lady, get out of the car. Do you know how many like rules that you've like? Do you know how many laws that you've broken?" And she's like, "What? What is all this about?" Like, kind of playing dumb and stuff. And Harold's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "You get out of the car too, Buster!" And like, so they get out of the car, and then, um, he starts laying into her of basically like, you resisting arrest, uh like you endangered a police officer, you're driving a stolen
he
vehicle, you're speeding.
in Maud's defense, I'm a bird lawyer here, professional bird lawyer here. In her defense, he put himself in danger.
Yes, he did. And so he starts laying into all these things, and then he gets to the end of it and he's like, and uh what is it, stealing a public property tree. And she and then he's like, "Wait, where'd the tree go?" And she's like, "Oh, we planted it." "You planted it." And then he was like, what's it called? What did you plant it with? And she was like, "The shovel." And he's like, "Is this your shovel?" And she's like, "No." And stealing a shovel, like possession of a stolen
The
shovel. And it's so dumb.
this
It's
is
so
where,
good, but so dumb.
this is where, as her lawyer, I will no longer be, what's the term? What's the correct term? I quit as her lawyer. I'm no longer. This is where I can no longer represent her as her.
You're adjudicating yourself from
Uh,
your client.
you boy, you best believe it. Fuck that. You can't be stealing somebody's shovel. A landscaper needed that fucking shovel. I'm taking that personally.
Now he's got to go to Home Depot.
Fucking shovels are
Do you know how
expensive
much
for
shovels
one.
cost?
Fucking shovels are expensive.
Shovel prices these days are insane, dude.
Find Lowe's.
That would be worse.
But
Lowe's would be more expensive, and you're gonna get a cheaper shovel.
yep.
Go to Walmart.
You get I now. This is legitly. This is the honest. This is honest. Home Depot is more for covenant towards men, and Lowe's is more covenant towards females. If people honestly want to know
Oh yeah,
the
I believe that.
difference. But yeah, that is legitly the difference. You will find smaller tools, different tool sizes and stuff between, of course, the different tool brands as well. But most of the
Yeah.
time, Lowe's is catering to the female home project doer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have thoughts on that, but I'm gonna share them after the stream. Um, so we have this whole scene going on, and Maud basically just tells this officer, "Oh, don't be so officious. You know, you're not yourself when you're officious, but that's the problem of having a government job." Um, and we find out a little later, like she's probably had lots and lots of interactions with people who are trying to be authoritative over her, and it just slides off of her just like butter. Like
I
she is a
mean, she
Teflon
doesn't
pan.
really.
Authority is the butter. It slides immediately off.
There's a distinct reason why, though. It's not like she is. I believe in her younger year, if she was a much younger individual, she would be obeying authority. But I feel like she's doing a bucket list right now,
Oh
in a
yeah,
way. So
yeah,
Huh.
it is a thing on her bucket list to just ignore authority at all costs.
yeah. Pretty
It
much.
works out. It's working out for her. I mean, she's not getting in any.
So far, yeah,
To be
Oh
honest,
yeah, she's
nobody's
ready
gonna
to death by
chase.
cop.
Nobody's gonna chase the ADO lady. Nobody.
yeah,
Nowadays they would. Back then they probably would.
yeah. Pretty
That-
much. And
It
so
depends. It depends if the lady is on if the lady is on drugs, they will definitely chase her down. But if it's just like a old lady
Then she'll start
that's
shitting.
yeah, they'll treat her nicely. They'll let her go. Basically, they'll call a fucking EMT on and let them handle her.
So we have this officer who's real riled, and he is not having any of Maud or Harold's business. And he takes a seat into the car to kind of start inspecting the car. He's looking for anything else he can add to these charges, pretty much.
He
Um,
left the
and
keys
Maud
in his
Maud
fucking
keeps trying.
motorcycle. Rookie
Left the keys in his
mistake.
bike,
This guy must be a
and
rookie cop. He must be a rookie. What the fuck is that? You left the keys in your motorcycle. Someone's gonna fucking steal it. Even though some
yeah,
motorcycles you literally just need a screwdriver, unfortunately.
yeah. But anyways, Maud interrupts him and is just like, "Is this gonna take long?" And he's basically like, "Leave me alone! Like this is gonna take as long as it needs to take." Brr brr. And so she slaps Harold on the back of the arm and is basically like, "Come on," and and then she tells him, "Oh yeah, don't forget to bring the shovel." And so he grabs the shovel, heads back over. Maud's now on the police officer's motorcycle, and starts it up, and they start hauling away. And the police officer is like warning them he's gonna have to shoot. He's gonna have to shoot. Pulls out his service revolver, um, and for some reason, there's a passerby walking along the side of the highway, and if I was that passerby and I saw two people who are clearly not police officers on the back of a police officer motorcycle and a police officer by a car with his pistol raised and using his
Of which you're
arm as a
downrange
brace,
to.
yeah,
Yeah.
of which you're downrange to, I would have ducked and or ran to the left or to the right because
That
nah,
rookie cop
dude.
wasn't gonna. That rock. That I get that. Yes, you should do duck, but that rookie cop wasn't gonna shoot. He was a
Yeah,
rookie.
that guy could
But he
sense.
does. He does actually shoot. He pulls the trigger. It's a dud. It doesn't
Or
fire.
actually
Rookie
what I
cop
think, and this
had
is
it on safety. You fucking
yeah,
rookie
and
cop.
this is one what, and it's a revolver, so that there's the what you'll do sometimes is that you'll just leave only like 5 rounds in the chamber,
Oh
and you
yeah,
leave
it
it
could
on
have been
the
the
empty one, and
yeah
he
Yep.
because you
forgot
don't want to
to,
shoot your foot
you know, you
off.
have to, yeah,
Yeah. But
and he
anyways,
didn't like
he
cycle it.
he pulls the trigger on them and nothing happens, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's a fucking
Hmm.
rookie cop, man. Goddamn rookie cop
Hmm.
all day long.
At least at least he wasn't gonna shoot his foot off.
Hey,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least his gun discipline is good. He's got some great gun discipline.
Yeah.
Except for the civilian downrange.
Yeah.
Hey. There's always some casualties.
After doing this, they go back to Maud's house, and this is where Harold gets his first taste of champagne, um, because they eat dinner together and stuff, and uh, what's it called? Maud offers him some champagne. He's like, "Oh well, I don't drink," and she goes, "Oh, don't worry, it's okay, it's safe, it's organic," and so they have some champagne, and it's very sweet. Um,
But it is we do have to mention 1971. No, it if he's over the age of 18, it's not illegal. Actually, never mind.
yeah, yeah, it's all kosher right now. The 21 hasn't been enacted yet.
Not
Um,
yet. It's 18, so she's safe now. But I'm still weary of her. I'm still cautious. I love her, but I still gonna if I fall asleep, not gonna be really asleep.
yeah.
One eye open.
So the next day, because I don't because we still have the really big date. Oh well, I guess this is actually um I guess I'm getting a little mixed up because I know that we have like there's a really big date, then there's like
Well,
in
there's
the
a
middle of one of his
eventually there's a
dates.
montage of dates that goes on. I don't really
Yeah,
know what
but
happens.
anyways, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna hop to the third and final computer date so that we can get into the really big date. Because I think there's a couple of scenes I might be missing here. However, we get to the third computer date,
The best
and
one.
it is it is ridiculous. So
Mhm.
Sunshine would have
Harold,
passed if she didn't try to improv. She fucking tried to improv though, man. She was so close to passing. She was so close to passing the test. But no, man. She fucking
yeah,
just had to sit there and you don't sit there and improv on my magic act. Nah, you don't do that. You just don't. This is my magic. My magic. If
yeah.
I wanted
So
you to
Harold,
be in the magic, I would have set up you to be the assistant in the magic act. That's the whole point. That is the whole
Yes.
point in having them as the assistant in the magic act. That's not me being an asshole.
Mhm.
no, I mean no one's saying that.
I,
No, no.
I just for the imaginary people that are saying it.
Okay, well that's fair. Um,
Mhm. Fuck you, imaginary people.
so his mom tells him this is the third and final date, and you're gonna make this work. He meets with Sunshine, and we find out that Sunshine has been trained her whole life to be an actress. Um, she comes from some place called the Sunshine Theater. That's like where she went to school and stuff.
Did
Um,
she seem a little older than usual, like than the
yes,
other one?
She was older.
yes,
She
Hmm.
was a much older
Yeah, yeah.
individual.
Which is
That's
kind of
why
kind of almost telling one. That was like one feature that I kind of noticed, in that like she was kind of almost a really good fit. And honestly, until the accident, I didn't see what was really wrong, which we'll get
yeah,
the
into.
the
yeah.
only
Well,
thing
yeah,
that
we'll
was
get
wrong
into
was
it.
she went and improved on him.
Yes, yes.
Even if it wasn't an accident, even
Uh,
if there was no
Yeah, yeah,
accident
we
that
got it.
happened,
Well,
I,
Yep.
we need context. Well,
Yep,
before
we
we go
got
on
it.
moron,
We got it.
we need to get to the
We
context
got it.
before we need to go on. Yes.
So he meets Sunshine, and Sunshine is like intrigued by him, seems to be.
he
They
seemed to be
make
a
their
little
way
intrigued
to
by
the
her too. I do want to state, like, he didn't seem very disinterested in her. Like he
yeah,
did
She was
because
the
seem
most
he's
like
attractive.
true,
yeah,
true. On
and
a objective sense.
he is asking her lots of
My
probing
sense. I mean.
questions, which is nice. Now
Mhm.
something that I don't like about her is very shortly after she tells him like, oh yeah, I've been an actress like in school and stuff, and like that's what my career is, that's what my passion is and stuff. They get to the great room, and she immediately walks around the great room and is like, oh, these are so nice. I absolutely adore this. Don't you adore this? So she's basically walking around this room picking up things and being little like, oh, you like this. I like this too. Like it almost feels like she's trying to force a connection a little bit, to me personally. Um, and that's where,
Mhm.
as she's doing this, she comes across a set of knives. And she goes to touch them, and Harold immediately stops her and says, no, don't touch those knives. They're very old and like all this stuff. And uh, he says, one of these is a Harry Carey knife. To which she goes, oh, well, what's Harry Carey? Um, to then Harold's response to this is to take the Harry Carey knife and walk over to what looks to be some type of chest. We can't really see it from the camera angle. He pulls out a mat. He walks to the other side of the room. He kneels before the mat. He takes off his jacket. He has the Harry Carey knife down on the floor next to him, and he puts the jacket on the chair. Um, he flips his tie up, and
Oh yeah.
then he proceeds to
Perform
uh,
another magic trick.
falsely commit
He
seppuku.
he performs another magic trick. Starfish.
Yep. Yes. And it's a trick knife. He's obviously got some type of blood packet in his gut or something like that, and he pops it with the trick knife.
Which I just
And
believe he has on him 24/7.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
all
that's what I think too.
magicians always carry their props on them. They gotta be ready at any time. They gotta be
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
ready.
true. And so he does all this, and then he falls over flat, having falsely disemboweled himself with a Harry Carey knife. Um, to which
And then he
In
Sunshine's
magically
Minecraft.
brings him
response,
back. So then he performs a magic trick and brings him back to back to life. That is what
In Minecraft.
happens.
yeah. And
And
Sunshine's
I'm gonna
very
let me
okay.
describe this,
How
please.
about yep, go for it. You really
So,
want to?
Sunshine it is a little too enthusiastic about this and
Who wouldn't be?
proceeds.
I'd be ready to marry him.
True, but she proceeds to try to perform the magic trick as well, but
Monkey
an
see, monkey do.
unfortunate accident happens, and the magic trick she she does not perform a magic trick, unfortunately.
But she still acts through the pain,
Yes. Yes.
which
Yeah.
I think she made it. Even though maybe she shouldn't have jumped the gun there, but she still pulled it through and played the scene to the end. And honestly, to an honest, I mean, she did what Juliet did.
Hey, I
So
went
so
out
something I need to
like a
so
G.
something I yep, and so something I need to state about this is that the film does not make this clear. Um,
I thought they made it
because
evidently clear because
I
it
feel.
said that was your it didn't say that was your last date or something like that.
Mm,
yep, it's her or it's his last date. So something I'd like to bring up is that um, I this is one portion I did research a lot because I was like, well, why didn't it work out? Because like there seemed to be some type of spark there. Like it seemed like it could work out, you
Oh,
know.
you poor
Um,
naive starfish. You're so naive sometimes. I love
She played through the
it.
scene. I feel like she just if she survived, she definitely be back.
so
But
so when she picks up the prop knife to act out the Romeo and Juliet unaliving scene, what happens is she picks it up and she pokes it with her finger a couple times to see that yes, this is indeed a trick knife. Um, and when she does that, when she plunges the knife into the sheath that is her body, um, that's not like it is still the trick knife. Like so I've looked into this like a lot, and it's not specified in the script at all if she actually unalived or not.
and I feel like the only
I
inclination
think
would be him specifying that they're old, so maybe that they don't work as well. Maybe he only kind of knows how to work them.
Yeah, that could be. The other thing with this too is that um, because
I
we
mean
have like that
even
being
if it's
for
a trick
pro, it did
now
not work. Now what we
we
have
have to
for
point
con
out
as
hey,
so
we
now
got
hold on, let me finish this. Let me finish this. Let me
Finish.
finish this. So the con of this is that the mom walks in, sees this, and she goes to reach out and put the glass down on the tray, and she misses and drops the glass on the floor. So I think that she like is aware that yes, she did just did just inflict a mortal wound on herself. Um,
Or he did, because I don't think
I
she saw
he,
exactly
yeah,
what
or
happened
he
because he's
did.
covered in
I
blood.
was just gonna
Right.
I was just gonna say we have to point out just because it's a trick knife doesn't mean you can't accidentally just gouge yourself to like nick the wrong artery on your neck accidentally. Like that's still a possibility. Like a
Yeah.
trick
So
knife is
yeah,
still a blade.
right. So that's what I'm saying is like there is a pro for like oh it just like was weird and like Harold didn't like her stepping on his toes and so like we're not going to have any of that, like he's not going to see her again. And then the other part that we have is like no, she did actually like injure herself seriously. Um so we don't really know. It's just kind of that's like kind of a scene in this film where it's like, well, what happened with this?
And then you
And
can
I
see it because
think
she's an actress, so she's not like fully into like a starting actress, so she's not like rich yet. And Harold is implied to be very rich because I could totally see his mom just like sweeping out of it under the rug.
yeah,
Oh
me
yeah, for
too.
sure.
The other thing we should mention too is like just because you stabbed yourself in the chest even in 1970 doesn't mean that like if you were rushed to a hospital like you couldn't be
it
saved. Like
it
there is a
kind of looked like she
possibility
nicked
that you
herself
could
in the.
be.
It kind of looked like she accidentally nicked herself in the neck too, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want everyone to be aware that like there is both like this could have actually happened and this may not have happened. And the script doesn't specify, the movie doesn't specify.
It
There's no real
heavily
answer to this question.
implies though that the implications are
Just like how it should have kept its mouth shut about something else in this.
what.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get
Yeah,
to
We'll
that
get
okay.
there
part?
when we get there.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're getting there.
Okay.
So because of this, we now have a scene with Harold and his mom. And his mom is done with him, and she basically tells him, like, look, I've tried these three dates. They're not working out with you for whatever reason. You just want to continue, acting like a child and doing your magic tricks. So I'm going to enlist you into the military. um, Harold rushes to Maud's house and tells Maud they're going to draft him. And Maud says,
Draft them
"Well,
where? Draft them
so
where? Where?
I'm just this is a quote from the film.
I just want to know, like, what
So
war would he
his
be
mom
drafted
tells
to?
him she's going to enlist him into the military, and the next day, let me finish. let me finish. He
I just
doesn't
want to know
understand what
what war
drafting
we.
means. He's just going to. I got you. I'm trying to explain this to you. So his mom's going to enlist him into the military the next day. Harold, on response of this news, runs to Maude and says to Maude, "They're going to draft me." Now, Harold didn't use the word enlist. This is just what Harold said because he feels like he is getting drafted into the military, even though that's not what's actually happening.
I again that has nothing to do with the question of what if he was being drafted. What war would he be like? There's no war that's going on right now and present during the movie. So like that I just
Actually, so
I'm
you're
just
incorrect. So you're
there,
incorrect. Right now, in 1971, it would have been the Vietnam War.
but they weren't implying that there were people going to Vietnam in the movie. It doesn't seem like they were in wartime in the movie. Like the
I
general
mean,
seemed
what? So
like
we're
the
so we're so we're looking at the world from the perspective of a very wealthy, very privileged young man who has done
I
nothing but play
the
magic tricks his whole
just
life,
the
and we only
general
really talk to an old lady. So like, I don't think that like we're not there. There, this is outside the scope, dude. Like this
the
doesn't like.
general that we have talked to already seems like he has already fought in a war, and I
Yeah,
don't think he's a general that just because he's one armed would sit a
he
war
fought
out.
in
I
World War
He
Two.
doesn't seem like he's well. It I think he would have brought up being. I know that I there's no merit to there's no purpose to this. I'm just curious, but
So
they're in the
so
movie they don't state like any war whatsoever.
All right. So at the start of 1971, South Vietnamese troops continued operations against the North Vietnamese People's Army of Vietnam and the Viet Cong, base areas in eastern Cambodia. The ill-conceived and poorly executed Operation Lam Son of 719 against
That's
the
that's real life. I'm talking about in the context of the setting of the movie. It doesn't seem like it seems like it's already passed. The even the generals doesn't the general seems like very relaxed for a country that would be in wartime. I'm nitpicking I guess on how the general's acting, but it doesn't there doesn't seem to be an urgency for soldiers.
so the only time we see the general only interacts with like a handful of people. He interacts with Harold, Maude, and his chauffeur. We never
Yeah,
actually
I
see Harold's mom talk to the general. We only have the general talking to Harold, who
when
is his uncle.
and when he's
The general
trying
is
to
Harold's uncle.
yeah,
Do you
but
understand that?
when he's
Uh,
trying to convince Harold to enlist, there's not a sense of urgency in it. Like I
I
believe if there was
think
a
what year was this film? Because
it
it's
was
obviously takes place in
1971.
the
1971.
year. Thank you. So it'd be Vietnam, and also there's
Yep,
something to
that's
what Harold said. Not Harold, the uncle. To what the uncle said, something very racist. He said you'd get to see a
yep,
lot of slant-eyed girls like
yep.
overseas too. So we can assume during the time period that it's probably Vietnam.
Okay, then that that is what I was asking if there's anything in the movie that puts a war to the setting. It didn't matter if it was real life or
Yes,
not. That's
that
all
that
I
was
needed.
that was it. Yes. Sorry, I was muted and looking at the transcript of him because we're getting to one of my favorite quotes because I there's a there's a line in this that in a song that I always listen to called "Toe Fry" by Black Tusk, and
Cause just
that sound bites of this of the uncle speech that we'll get in a little bit is burned in my memory, and like now I finally see the movie that it's from.
just
Yeah.
because there's a war going on in real life doesn't mean that that war is going on in every movie that was filmed
Yeah,
and
yeah, I got
made
you.
within that time frame.
I don't know why you're so hung up on this. Like, this is ridiculous. Like
All
I
right.
I
don't
mean,
I don't understand. I
I
don't
got what you're saying. I
understand.
got what you're saying. The question has been answered. Let's move on.
Um, so what's it called? So he runs to Maude and says, "I'm gonna be drafted," and Maude says, "No, no. You're not gonna do that." And then he tells Maude, "Well, I'm gonna need your help, Maude." And so they hatch a plan. Um, the next scene that we have is with Harold and Harold's uncle in the back of a military vehicle, driving to some place. I don't know what exactly it was. It looked like it maybe was an old fort or something. I'm not really entirely sure where this is taking place at. Um, but Harold's uncle basically tells him like, there's a lot of benefits to being in the army. You can have a chauffeur, you can have money in your pocket, you get lots of respect and stuff. And then he tells Harold, "Oh, thank you for choosing this location. Like this is such a good location to talk about this." Um, and so they get out, they walk around for a little bit. Um, and Harold's uncle is basically just trying to highlight all of the things that the army can do for him in his life, and why being a newly enlisted man is going to be great for him. Um, we eventually go deeper into the fort, and we pan up from the bottom, and we hear the Harold's uncle basically going zook, and then they kept firing and firing, and all I could think was I was sitting there was I gotta do this, I gotta kill them all, kill them for Joe
Kill,
and for
kill.
yeah, kill for all the guys and all this stuff. And Harold is like acting so responsive to this. Like he is so excited about it. And then he starts asking his uncle all kinds of questions. They're going to teach me how to shoot guns. Yeah, they'll teach you all kinds. They'll teach me how to use a bayonet. Yeah, they'll teach you how to use a bayonet. They'll teach me
Oh,
hand-to-hand combat.
also very comedically too. Before like during the rant too. I just love like the uncle, like his view of war is like is very it's not like a type of justice type of thing. He just like wants everybody to be cool with war again because he thinks it like advances society because he's like, hell, World War II brought us the ballpoint pen. And
Yeah,
he's like, what everybody
yeah.
loved, you know who everybody loved killing was the Germans. We need to get the Krauts back on the other side of the fence and get a war worth fighting for.
Yeah, and one of the things that the general does say too is what does he say? There should be conflict and crisis. Like he is actively like he wants the U.S. military to be involved in
He's
everything.
Ares in human form.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
is. He
boy.
he he is the definition of a war hog. To quite an extreme. Like he doesn't really need a provocation. Um, and so
Hey,
Harold's just like,
sometimes you just need violence. Sometimes violence is just the excuse.
yeah,
Violence.
to- totally. And so Harold's like, they'll teach me hand to hand combat, and he's like, yeah, and then he's like, they'll teach me how to choke out a man with my bare hands, see the life squeezed out of him. And he was like, okay, Harold, yeah, I mean,
If he was
yes,
see,
and
if he was talking to a different general, he would have been shipped off right then and there. He would have messed up big time because I was all for it. I was like, "Oh yeah, we need to get him in. Let's get him overseas. Let's go. Let's get him
Put
on
him in
that
the
plane."
Marines.
yeah. Yeah, definitely Marine attitude. And so then he starts asking him, was like, "Oh well, with all the men that you killed, were there any trophies you got to keep? Did you get to keep their ears, their nose, scalp,
See,
maybe,
he needs to be
privates,
talking.
Genitals,
and
yeah.
He
yeah,
needs to be.
genitals?"
He needs to be talking to that one general that drunk out of a boy's skull that he collected. I can't remember his name right now, but he was a crazy son of a bitch. They literally drunk out of a fucking kid's skull, a child's skull, during Vietnam. I can't remember his name.
Oh,
They
was
mentioned him
that
in
Mad
last
Dog?
podcast. They mentioned
Hmm.
him in last podcast. I know. I can't remember the
Um,
general's name, but that did happen.
Uh, there it was an ancient Britain general
It was during Vietnam. I know that.
during Vietnam.
Yeah, yeah, that was happening during
So
Vietnam.
during the war that's going on in this film.
Yeah, yeah. If he
Um,
was talking to that very general, he would have been on that fucking plane. he got.
Yeah,
He
this
was
guy just wants to
super.
kill Nazis. He just wants it to be World War II again.
oh man, I can't look it up because I can't look up child skull drinking on Google. That definitely gonna that's gonna be
no,
some red
I
flags.
already searched it and it's not coming up with much.
Oh man,
But anyways,
they do mention it
all
in last
right.
podcast. They do mention him in last podcast.
So Har- so his uncle's being like, Harold, that's atrocious and stuff, and he's like, what if I could have like one of these but a whole bunch of them, and he pulls out a shrunken head. And to which the uncle responds with like, Harold, that's so grotesque, like why do you have that? And Harold's like all dancing around, is all stoked about it, and his uncle's trying to quell his like bloodlust essentially, or what he thinks is bloodlust.
Need to get him on the
And they
plane.
see
Need to get him on that motherfucking plane. He'd be great. He'd be the best. That's what we need.
we we see Maude at the bottom of this like area where they're walking towards, holding a sign for peace, and Harold immediately charges at her and starts calling her all kinds of derogatory terms,
I bet.
that I'm
I'm
not gonna
sorry to
mention
interrupt
here.
you again, but I bet Harold knows what makes the grass grow.
Okay.
blood, blood, blood.
Yeah,
And
that's the
and
only.
also just to point this out, I couldn't find anything also about the child drinking head, but the person with when I looked up with the most war crimes, the general with the most war crimes during Vietnam, with 13 separate incidents of just flying over and shooting at civilians, was a General Jacob H. Smith.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
that that doesn't ring a bell. That actually doesn't ring a bell. It might be him. I can't say because I can't remember the name. What's the only fact that I can remember is the fact that he drunk out of a fucking child's skull. like that. it's
I don't know where they
permeated
heard
into
that
my.
one.
It's permeated
Probably in some
into my.
weird book.
Yeah, it's last podcast. I know I got the fact from last podcast on the left.
Also, where I got the, the fish fucking from Tom Cruise from, which I can't find anything else.
Hey,
either,
Yeah,
other than
I get that from
the
page
people
7, but
interacting. Yeah, from page 7. It
I
bled
do think
over.
that is accurate.
If we
Yeah,
go on the
Henry bled it
sense,
over.
if we go on the sense that Scientologists aren't supposed to second guess a second thought, then if the thought of maybe I should screw a fish,
It's
then
possible.
he can't second guess it. Then he has to go with he has to try it.
Yeah.
He can't second guess that thought. Just has to do it. so it's very plausible that many Scientologists actually have screwed some fish, have have not touched the bass, but the bass has touched
Might
them.
it might be like a something that's written in their fucking in those higher level shit we don't know.
Yeah, it's true. We don't have enough money to know, but
and
Maud's
I'm not a
standing down there with a
not
peace
we're not
sign.
big enough suckers, by the way, to know.
No, we are
Now they're coming
not.
for us.
Yeah, that's fine. Let him come. And so Harold starts berating her. Uncle tries to stop. She steals Harold's shrunken head, and Harold is enraged by this. She runs down the stairs. Harold's chasing after her. He now has the sign and is like not beating her with it, but it kind of looks like he's beating her with it. And they get to the cliffside edge, and Maud says, "Oh, I'm gonna throw this away back into the sewer so no one can have it." And so she throws it. Harold loses it. They start arguing and fighting. The uncle gets there on the scene, and they start kind of getting into like a little three-way tussle type of thing. And Maud falls through a hole in the fort, and you hear a splash. and Harold's uncle goes, "Harold, what have you done?" And that's how he gets out of going to the military.
Performed,
Not another
performed
one.
performed a magic. It's just a magic trick. It's just a magic trick, everybody. It's just
Yeah,
a magic
This case it
trick.
is.
He just made Maude disappear. There is no evidence that anything bad has happened to her. We just heard a splash. She could have dived into a pool after she disappeared into the floor. We don't know. We don't know.
yeah, we don't know. But what we do know is that this leads to Maud and Harold having quite a lot of alone time together. And ostensibly, I think they spend the next couple of days together.
Oh,
After duping his uncle,
they
they
are
go
touching the
on
base. They are
they go on
touching
a very
the base. They're touching the fucking base.
they go on a very sweet date, and at the end of the date, in the middle of the date, Harold crafts something for her, and they sit outside of her house. He gives it to her, um, and it says, "Harold loves Maud," and she proceeds to throw it outside the front of her yard into some like puddles. And Harold's at first offended, but then she goes, "Well, that way I always know where it is. I won't lose it." Which is like sweet in its own weird way.
She
Um,
also might be a mermaid.
yeah, that's true. When she does this, we get a flash of her wrist, and we see she's got a serial of numbers tattooed on her skin.
Oh, Mod
Um,
is a
sig-
motherfucking survivor. Bum, burp,
yep,
burp.
yep, signifying that she survived the Holocaust. Um,
God,
and
man, I
so
want
now
her
we
to be
have
a
kind of a
fucking. It'd be so goddamn cool to play her as a goddamn GTA protagonist. It would be so fucking cool.
yeah. I mean, it would. I would play the mod. They go inside and they smoke hookah. Um,
I think the hookah
and
scene done happened. I think the hookah
oh, did
scene
it?
done yeah, I think the hookah scene been
Okay,
happened.
okay.
Oh yeah,
So
that
then they.
happened after they committed the crime.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. See, I knew there was a couple scenes I like skipped over. But anyways, they go back inside then, and they are looking at some of the art and stuff, and then uh, Maud tells him, "Oh, well, don't you play anything?" Um, and she gives him a banjo. Um, can't really play. They kind of do like a singing song thing.
She
To which
introduced the
Harold.
banjo. She introduced the banjo to him earlier in the movie. He's been playing the banjo. He's been practicing the banjo throughout the whole movie.
Okay. Um, and anyways, so they're inside, and they do a dance. We pan up from this. We see some fireworks go off, and then the next scene, which is a scene that disgusted the American public, um, and it is Harold in the morning in Maud's bed with her, blowing bubbles.
Because hey, I I get it. I mean, they just at the time they weren't ready to know how well an old lady can be with her tongue and fingers. I mean,
Punchline.
the smile on Harold's face just says it all. Like she performed some magic on him. She has taught him things that he never thought was possible.
Yeah, and we should say, from our understanding of Harold, like he's probably never had friends. He's definitely never been intimate with anybody. Um, and so,
I'm
you
sure she
know,
took it slow. She did the tongue first and then she wiggled the little finger up and down. I'm sure she did that. But oh, that smile.
yeah.
This joke is
And so,
totally for myself, so I can laugh at it later.
okay. So we have Harold coming back home, and his mom's on the phone. He barges in, and keeps saying, "Mom, I need your attention." And Mom keeps saying, "Not now, not now, Harold, not now." And Harold then tells her, "Okay, well, I just wanted you to know I'm getting married." And she's like, "Wait, what?" And she like says, "Can you hold the line?" He shows her a picture, and he's like, or his mom's like, "You can't be serious, Harold," because ostensibly it's a picture of Maude, um, and she's not okay with it. Um, but Harold doesn't really care. He doesn't really need his mom's approval for any of that kind of stuff. Um, and so with Harold going into this next date with the intention of marrying her, this is also the 80th birthday of Maud. And so he gets her house all done up and all these different flowers. And if you look closely, which is something that like I've noticed over the years of watching this film, is all of the flowers that he made, all of them have slight little imperfections. Like on each one of them, like one of them has like a bent thing, one of them has like a shorter thing, and it's like cut up and stuff, and it's really cool.
It's called
Um,
back to a conversation they had, I believe, too, when
In
she asked him what type of flower he'd want to be, and he's kind of pointed out like the most unremarkable ones that were just all over it. He's like, oh, because they're all the same. She's like, no, they're not. Look all they all have different imperfections and things that make them, special. So that was the
yeah,
they
callback to
were
that.
they're the
yeah,
same flower, but they're still different.
yeah, and it's really sweet too. But so he presents all this to her. He pulls away this drape, and there's a cake and champagne and stuff. And she tells or Harold grabs something behind the cake, and it's a little white box. Which, if you're an adult, you've seen those boxes before. That's a jewelry box. Um, and you know what's gonna be in the jewelry box, right? We know it's a wedding ring and stuff. He's gonna propose to her, but he says this is gonna be after dinner, and I think it's something that's gonna hopefully make you very very happy. And she tells him, "I I'm sure I will be. I don't think I could have asked for a better farewell." And Harold says, "What do you mean farewell?" To which Maud responds, "Well, I took the pills a couple hours ago. They should kick in by midnight."
And she's going to that place that Farnsworth goes to in Futurama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and it's this time it's this time it is not a magic trick. She is actually going to
Yeah,
go to
she
the old folks' home that Farnsworth goes to.
yes.
Um, and Harold at first doesn't like realize this, and that I think this is something that's like such acted so well, is that like it takes a little bit for like the shock and like realization to settle in. And he goes, "You what?" And then we flash to an ambulance. She's being brought to the hospital and stuff. And we get a song played by Cat Stevens, which I'll get into him
Well,
more
the
for the production.
I was about to
But this
say
song is called Trouble.
he's the whole sound. He did the whole soundtrack.
Yeah, yeah, he did. I guess that's really all I was gonna say. But anyways, so another Cat Stevens song, but this one slaps. Like this is probably the best Cat Stevens song in the film, and it's we get a montage, we get a couple of back to back sequences, we get Harold in a waiting room in a hospital talking to nurses, talking to doctors, see Maud go in to intensive care where he can't be. Um, and we also see Maud sign some papers, and I have a feeling that those papers that she signed was a do not resuscitate paperwork.
Most likely. But
Um,
we're also cutting. This is when we start cutting to the scenes with the him driving.
yep. So the other part of the sequence of scenes is the uh, the Jaguar, hearse, um, speeding down a rain-soaked forest path, and we flash back to Harold. We see him in a waiting room. We flash back to the car speeding around a corner. We flash back a couple more times between these two things, until we flash into the morning, with Harold having the doctors come out and tell him, Maud's dead. And then we
No, whoa,
stay just on the
whoa,
car.
whoa. She went to the old folks' place that Farnsworth goes to in Futurama. Oh,
Yeah.
ouch.
So we have the car scene now. Just kind of focused on that. Um, and he's speeding around every corner, finds a cliff,
And we get one last
and
magic trick.
the 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 car flies off the cliff, and we get a still frame of the car with the engine just going, and then it comes back to real life, and the car smashes to the cliff. Pan up, we see Harold, banjo in hand, wearing uh, light gray pants and a colorful shirt, and he starts playing the Cat Stevens song, which is "If you want
On
to
the
sing
good
out,
old
sing out."
banjo.
And he starts playing it on the banjo, and then when he finishes the intro line, the full song breaks out again, and we get the credits.
Oh, I had a theory about that ending that's not true, unfortunately, but
Go
I'm
for it.
glad. Well, that
Go for it.
I totally thought that he didn't do a magic trick and he went to the old folks' home that Farnsworth goes to early. I could have swore that's what was happening, and what we were seeing was him astral projecting himself uh, on the
I
cliff.
have the same theory, but then they had to go and ruin it by like years later after keeping it being like, oh no, that didn't happen.
Not just
Yep.
that, but there was going to be a sequel that followed him after this. It was going to follow his life after all this, after Maude and everything.
Oh,
Yeah, there's also going to be a prequel that followed Maude's life before Harold.
weird.
Yep.
It's weird that even back then that they try to do that when I don't think it's necessary. I like the finality of this
Yeah,
all.
Yeah.
I totally wish that my theory was correct, but it is totally not. It is wholeheartedly been debunked. Unfortunately, I'm not. We're not the only ones that had that theory. Thankfully, and since the other movies technically don't exist, we can, reality is subjective, and we fucking want that to be the ending. Then it can be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why they
Yeah.
should keep the mouth shut.
Totally. Um, and that's something too. Prior to like reviewing this film, like for us and stuff, I always took it as what you thought too, Smokey. Like I always took that as like, nah, things actually did happen this time, and that's just how it is. Like that's like his astral projection of himself. Um, but yeah, we know that's not true now, of course, which is unfortunate, but that's okay, I guess. Um, we can get into production stuff if you guys want to.
Yeah, the only production thing that I had was Cat Stevens did and there was sequel and prequel plan. That's all I know.
Okay. So this movie, as you could probably tell, we're going pretty long on this one. But this movie, I super enjoy. And it being a genre that we haven't touched upon, like I was very eager and excited to like get into this one. So, um, the UCLA Film School student Colin Higgins, who is the writer of this film, it's also produced by Colin Higgins. They wrote Harold and Maude as his master thesis,
Oh,
which is
nice.
awesome.
He did Nine
Um,
to Five.
yeah.
If people
Um,
are wondering who he is, we actually
yeah.
reviewed Nine to Five. Go check out that review after this.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah.
Um, So, while working as a producer, Edward Lewis's pool boy, who was Higgins, showed the script to Lewis's wife, Mildred. Mildred was so impressed that she got Edward to give it to Stanley Jaffe at Paramount, and then Higgins sold the script with the understanding that he would direct the film, but he was told he wasn't ready yet. After tests he shot proved unsatisfactory to the studio heads.
Who did direct
Um,
it? Who ended up directing it?
the director is Hall Ashby.
They whoever made that call, they unfortunately they knew what the fuck they were talking about. They knew who
Yeah, no,
they
yeah,
knew.
they definitely did. They
I,
definitely
I,
did.
it might have been like an asshole thing to do because I get you want to direct your own works, but it this was very well directed, very well directed.
Yeah, and Hall Ashby's a pretty interesting director. He's done quite a lot of work. Um, but his breakouts are the Russians are coming, the Russians are coming, and in the heat of the night.
Which we will have to do both of those in the future.
He also did The Last Detail. Um, Ashby was originally hired to direct One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but he was replaced before filming started. So Ashby's, known in the biz, I guess you could say. Um,
I'm not sure if there's any
let's see here.
I'm stating this now before anybody's like, "Oh, he's praising this." I don't know any controversy behind any of these guys. Just stating that now.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look at any of that kind of stuff. I
So
don't really
if I
see
end up
anything.
praising anybody, it's because I do not know.
However, so Ashby would be the director of this. However, Ashby would only commit to directing the film after getting Higgins's blessing, which is something that doesn't really happen anymore. Like when writers write films, they don't, the directors that are directing it don't generally ask for the writer's blessing to direct it. Um, but he did this so that Higgins could watch and learn from him on the set. And as such,
I would
Ashby actually
say
made Higgins a co-producer so that he
watching
could
nine.
have that experience.
I mean, they're not the same kind of comedy, but watching Nine to Five, I can totally tell that he learned from the experience.
Yeah, Higgins would go on to say that he originally thought of this story as a play, but then it became a 20-minute master thesis when he was at film school. However, the script that he originally wrote would be turned into a novel and then a play, which actually ran for several years in Paris. Ashby felt that the actress portraying Maude should ideally be European, and his list of possible actresses included Peggy Ashcroft, Edith Evans, Gladys Cooper, and Celia Johnson, as well as Lottie Lenya, Luis Rayner, Paula Negri, Mint Durfee, and Agatha Christie.
Which I could guess that this film was probably, or at least this story was a lot less controversial in Paris.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I know that it didn't. This movie get a mixed reception when it first came out. I think I read
Yeah,
something about
yep, it sure did.
Eckbert, what's his name, kind of bash this thing a little bit.
Yes. So when this was released, it was a text only poster and it had very little marketing, and as such, it was a flop. Um, but it eventually found success in repertory theaters, um, and recouped its cost after several years. Um, which uh, what those are is producing theaters essentially. It's a theater in which a resident company presents work from a specified repertoire. So, in other words, like we're only playing Paramount films here, and that's actually where it earned its money back. Um, and the other thing is Danny Perry, author of the cult movie series, says, quote, "The film was a runaway cult favorite, and most memorably in Minneapolis, residents actually picketed the Westgate Theater and tried to get the management to replace the picture after a consecutive 3-year run." So it ran for 3 years in one film, and then they were like, "No, you have to keep it going,"
Dang.
which is insane by today's standards.
Oh man, I gotta
Um,
say that
Other production things here. For Harold, Ashby also What do you guys say?
hold on, my whole end is messing up. Just keep going.
Oh, okay. For Harold, in addition to Bud Court, Ashby also considered at the time promising unknowns Richard Dreyfuss, Bob Balaban, and John Savage. Um, Also on his list were John Rubinstein, for whom Higgins had written the part, and then up and coming British pop star Elton John, whom Ashby had seen live and hoped would also do the music for the film, um, which is pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
Like, we could have had this, like, in a different timeline. There's a timeline where Elton John did the music and was the lead man for this film.
That would have been cool, but I'm I'm happy with the Cat Stevens soundtrack that we get. I don't think that it was. I think it
For the most
served its
part.
purpose. There was
Mm.
no songs that
Yeah.
I disliked. None of them turned me off.
Yeah. There's also a novelization of this film, which Higgins released alongside the film. There's a couple differences, including the film's omission of certain scenes and characters. Other different details include the novel's version of Maude having white hair and introducing herself as, quote, the Countess Matilda Chardin, a different name and title than used in the film. Uh, Maud's home is also characterized more as a cottage instead of a retired railroad car. And she and Harold briefly interact with Maud's neighbor, Madame Ariette, who is not present in this film. The novel includes an additional scene during the tree planting expedition where Maud leads Harold in climbing to the top of a very tall pine tree to show him the view of the forest from near its summit.
That would have been cool to see, but I understand why they didn't do that. That would have been completely pointless to see.
Yeah. So critical response at the time, we could jump to that. At the time of its release, it got very mixed reviews. Several critics were actually offended by how dark the humor was. Ebert gave the film a 1.5 out of 4 stars, and he wrote, quote, "And so what we get finally is a movie of attitudes. Harold is death, Maud is life, and they managed to make the two seem so similar that life's hardly worth the extra bother. The visual style makes everyone look fresh from the wax museum, and all the movie lacks is a lot of day old gardenias and lilies and roses in the lobby, filling the place with a cloyingly sweet smell. Nothing more to report today. Harold doesn't even make a pallbearer."
Will
End quote. So he
will
so he
will people be
stomped it
upset?
pretty hard.
Will people be upset if I insert Trump saying wronged here?
So there
you're
is.
Wrong. You're wrong.
No, I'm
Murders
not.
are up.
Yeah.
All right, you check.
New York has
You check
done.
it. Wrong.
That is absolutely
Wrong.
proved over and over again.
Wrong.
Can I please do that? Would that be too?
That's fine. You can say that if you want.
Because that is so fucking wrong. He is so wrong on that is the wrongest statement you can state about the movie. It. First of all, Harold and Maude aren't life and death. They're not stand-ins for that whatsoever. It's like that. You completely missed the point. But hey, he, eh,
Yeah.
he's not always on point. He's not always on point.
No, he's not. The other thing that we have um, is what has happened to the film as of late, which the reputation has increased greatly. Rotten Tomatoes has actually labeled the film as a certified fresh film, and it gives a score of 85 based off of 46 reviews, with an average score of 7.8 out of 10. A consensus on the site read, quote, Hall Ashby's comedy is too dark and twisted for some and occasionally oversteps its bounds, but there's no denying the film's warm humor and its big heart. In 2005, the Writers Guild of America ranked the screenplay at number 86 on its list of the 101 greatest screenplays ever written. And in Sights and Sounds 2012 poll of the greatest films of all time, Nick Caro, Waneri Kalua, and Cyrus Frisch voted for Harold and Maude. Frisch commented, an encouragement to think beyond the obvious. In 2017, Chicago Tribune critic Mark Caro wrote a belated appreciation saying, quote, I'm sorry, Harold and Maude, for denying you for so long. You're my favorite movie once again.
Who said that? Who said that again? I missed. I missed who said that. I'm sorry.
That is Mark Caro, who is a critic at the Chicago Tribune.
So you're gonna come crawling back, yay? Huh? Huh? How dare he?
Yeah,
You should have liked
pretty
it to
much.
begin with.
Now for some fun production stuff. After all the official stuff, so when Maude and Harold steal the police officer's motorcycle, Harold accidentally hits himself in the head with the shovel, but they just kept going with it for the sake of the shot.
I didn't even notice that he hit himself in the head with the shovel.
If you watch it again, you'll notice it. um, in all shots of Maude driving the hearse, it's actually being towed because she never actually learned how to drive a car.
Whoa! Wait. So all the cars that she's driving, they're being towed.
Yep.
Ah, man, I was hoping that was her. I was hoping that was the actress actually doing the okey doke. That couldn't have been. Ah, that's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, there's a reason you don't really see inside the car when that's happening. Um, Hall Ashby, who's the writer and creator, um, he intended to film a scene of Harold and Maude making love, but Paramount was against it. Actress Ally McGraw, wife of Paramount boss Robert
They
Evans,
don't.
wanted a film scene
Even
where the two.
Paramount don't want me to rate. Even Paramount don't want me to rate sex scenes. It's a travesty. I wanted to rate. It would have been a 5 out of fucking 5, perfect, 2 thumbs up, 5 stars, the best. Oh, it would have been so good, so good. But nope.
Nope.
But
Unfortunately, not.
now, guess what I can do? I can claim that Maud gave him a rim job and stuck a finger up his little booty hole. Oh, I can do that now.
Canon.
Yay. It's canon. You can't take it away from me. Reality is subjective.
Um, the other stuff with that, because it goes on, is actress Ally McGraw, wife of Paramount boss Robert Evans, wanted a film scene where the two kiss cut as well. Um, to which Ashby furiously objected, saying, That's sort of what the whole movie is about, a boy falling in love with an old woman. The sexual aspect doesn't have to be distasteful. Um, about the less than explicit scene that we get being Hall Ashby author Nick Dawson wrote, quote, Ashby wanted to show the beauty of young and old flesh together, something that he knew the younger generation, the hippies, the heads, the open-minded masses would dig. But Evans said it would repulse most audiences, so it had to go. In the end, Ashby won by sneaking footage into the film's trailer.
Oh shit.
So I guess if you want to see them kissing or anything like that, you can watch the trailer.
Huh.
The scenes in which Harold turns to look at the camera after successfully scaring off his first date, and where he does the finger behind his mother's back after she sees the Jaguar turned into a hearse, were not in the script, but they were improvised.
I'm sorry. You shouldn't.
Oh yeah, I forgot the little flick off.
Just the way you described that he did the finger behind his mother's back. It got me. It got me. I'm sorry. I'm immature.
No. I'm glad I could deliver. I'm glad I delivered it well for you. Most of the Cat Stevens songs heard in the film, which we know he did all of the soundtrack for, were taken from his albums Mona Bone Jacone or T for the Tillerman. He wrote the opening song Don't Be Shy and If You Want to Sing Out, especially just for the film. And something that I found that was interesting about the soundtrack. So this film is one of the few films that does not have a soundtrack. Um, and
But
when Cat Stevens was asked about this, Cat Stevens said
it's on
that
YouTube.
he wanted.
It's on the YouTubes.
I think someone made a playlist.
Okay, I was about to say.
So there's no album. There's
Okay,
no
there's no
album.
physical.
There's no
like,
soundtrack.
There's no CD. There's no like physical media you can buy. Okay.
No original soundtrack.
Yeah, there's no soundtrack to the film. So, and when asked about that, what Kat said is he wanted the songs to stand alone, which is why he wrote the opening and If You Want to Sing Out, especially just for this film. Like he has played those songs in other places at this point in time. He has released them in other albums at this point in time. But when it came out, he wanted part of the appeal to be like to get some of his music that was just only for the film. Which I thought was really cool. That like, kind of
You can
like,
listen to you can go listen to the soundtrack. That's what I was trying to state. I mean that there is a soundtrack to the.
There are
movie.
playlists on both Spotify and YouTube. Yes, but it's not.
There is
When
no
so think
physical,
about 1971. They didn't have
can't
YouTube.
go
They didn't
buy
have
the
Spotify.
soundtrack, is what I'm trying
You
to
could
say.
not.
That
Yeah,
there is a
yeah,
soundtrack, but you can't buy it.
Yep. So there's no soundtrack at all because you couldn't buy a soundtrack. There's no album that exists that is a soundtrack to
But
this film.
a soundtrack is the music that is a part of the movie. That it.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to
we'll
argue.
just say OST
that
then. The OST.
I'm just trying to state that yes, that there is music. There's still music in.
Yes, there's music in the
there's
film.
music in the fucking movie. You just can't buy it on a physical.
at all.
That is all I'm trying to clarify, Starfish.
No one out there thinks that when we were saying that after.
I'm not even saying that
wrote
people.
The soundtrack for the film is that we are talking about physical media, the soundtrack, as in what every movie releases on physical media after they would make a movie, especially at that time.
Yeah, that is all I'm trying to clarify. They still call it a soundtrack, though.
The original soundtrack, OST. OST, there you go. They did.
When considering the role of Harold, Bud Cort asked the opinion of director Robert Altman, his mentor. Altman cautioned the rising star Bud Cort might find himself forever typecast. For this reason, Cort turned down the role of Billy Bibbit in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh. Also, to go back on there, too, because I forgot my running joke, semantics. But yes.
Yeah. Cat Stevens appears in a brief uncredited role During Ruth Gordon's second appearance in the film, he's the bearded gentleman wearing a hat and a full coat at the graveside service. His profile can be seen a few times as he looks with displeasure at Ruth Gordon trying to grab Bud Cort's attention during the service. So Cat Stevens is actually in the film.
Yeah.
Maude's picture frames are empty. In Colin Higgins' book, Harold asks why she removes the photographs. The scene wasn't used in the movie. Maude tells him they mocked her by their images remaining sharp even as her memories were fading as she aged. Harold and
Oh
Maude
shit.
Yeah, Harold and Maude played for a total of 1,957 showings from mid 1972 until June 1974 at the Westgate Theater in Minnesota. Ruth Gordon appeared for the first anniversary celebration, and both Ruth Gordon, Maude, and Bud Cort Harold showed up for the second anniversary. So that one theater that like was like, no, you got to keep it running. Like the Harold and Maude actually showed up there
Fuck yeah! I
to
mean,
like
Oh
why
yeah.
wouldn't
commemorate the
they? They
anniversaries.
better. They fucking better after playing it so many fucking times.
In the scenes between Harold
You
and the
know how many?
psychiatrist,
You know how many fucking employees that worked at that hate that movie now? Not because it's a bad movie. It's just they had to watch the ending over and over and over again. Spooge will tell you.
I was about to say maybe this wouldn't have, but I I do kind of I don't exactly, even though it's this is the first time the song came out, but it would later be kind of overplayed later and used in other things. But also they used it a little bit too much, and this was the if you want to sing out, which I because I kind of had an issue with the end. I kind of wish it just kind of like left silent with him kind of playing the banjo off, you know.
Oh, that would have been great. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah,
I'm
I
kind
I
of
agree
upset
with
that you
that.
pointed. I'm. Oh, I gotta. That's gonna affect my rating. That you pointed that out.
Cool, awesome, glad to hear it. So in the scenes between Harold and the psychiatrist, they are wearing the exact same clothes down to the ties and matching handkerchiefs. So
Oh,
anytime he's with the psychiatrist, they're dressed exactly the same.
I wonder if that's even happening. Good. I don't know.
I
Now you got me
that's
thinking
definitely Harold trying
David
to
Lynchian.
pull that. That's Harold trying to pull some psychological bullshit over on trying to psych his therapist out. That's for sure. That is intentional because he's being an eccentric little fuck this whole time. I totally see that happening.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Uh, Cat Stevens came to Ashby's attention through Elton John, who was being considered for the part of Harold. Stevens was hired to compose the film's score, but could not complete his contract for scheduling reasons. Ashby had already been using Cat's song catalog as mood enhancers and scratch tracks during production, so a deal was made to finalize the score, using them in place of all originals.
Nice.
Uh, to avoid to avoid an R rating, a controversial swear word had to be eliminated from the scene in which Harold and Maude sit under the sunset.
Hmm.
Whoa, what? I'm going. What
Who
would
said
we
what?
know? Would you give?
Uh,
What would be this controversial word that would make it an R rating? I'm just
I don't know.
curious. You don't know? You don't know?
I'm gonna find out.
Oh,
Oh
nice.
shit.
While you find out, is there any other production things that you want to get into? We kind of been going for quite a while.
Oh, no, I mean we could stop.
Are you sure? Because if you got any other tiny product, we can keep going, but it is getting kind of late.
Yeah, I got you. Um, let's see here. Uh, This film has been shown continuously in the movie theater Gallery Cinema in the German city of Essen since 1975, with an exception of a 10-week break early in 2020 due to the coronavirus. The 45th anniversary was celebrated on June 6, 2020.
Nice.
So there's a movie theater in Germany that plays it every year, like as a
Fuck.
classic.
Fuck yeah, man. That's what's up. See, that all the critics that bash this movie, they're fucking wrong. They're wrong. Wrong.
Wrong.
Yeah. Um, let's see here. I guess that's probably it. I mean, it's got a lot of interesting stuff. I highly encourage everyone to look at like all the crazy things that happened. It's not like really crazy. It's more just like there's lots of people just like celebrating this film. You know.
All right. Well, nice. Nice. It deserves to be celebrated. With that, I believe it's time to get into final thoughts. Is everybody got their rating down?
Yeah.
Before we get into ours, I know I did this last time, but I'm doing it before. Would we be able to confirm Murda's and Tiny Dancer's ratings? Would they have told anybody anything? Should I flash it on the
They
screen now?
uh they didn't give me an exact but I have a general idea of like what they said. Like I didn't ask them like, well, what would you rate it like out of like out of 5, but I have a feeling I know roughly where they're at with it.
Okay, would you
So up to you.
I will we'll waiver it for now. If we do a redux to this, then I guess they can give their ratings. But with that, I'll go first. I I'm on the fence. I'm between a 4.5 and a 5. I'm not quite sure if I love it to the point, because there are some nitpicks that would have made the movie better for me. Spooge pointed it out that the ending definitely should have just ended with silence and him playing the banjo, walking off, and that definitely should have been the ending. I wish that we could have had a little more finality to the whole situation, instead of, oh, there was gonna be a sequel. So I can't, I can't say that I love it all the way, but this is definitely it. Its comedy is on point. I love the characters. You can be I understand if people are uncomfortable with the situation that's going on with the age gap between the romantic lovers in this rom-com, but I totally don't care, because Harold seems to be a full-fledged adult, even though he looks young. I mean, he's driving. He takes care of himself most likely. Even though he is a rich person, saying he's independent is kind of a stretch. But he doesn't seem. It doesn't. I don't feel he would be struggling if we got the sequel with him. I think it would just been him being like eccentric and living his life to the fullest. More kind of like a Madame Blavatsky touring the world, just being weird and zany and saying weird ass shit and being a magician.
Hell
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a 4.5 out of 5 for me. That for sure.
Nice.
That is my final rating.
Nice. So for me, I did choose this film. However, I'm still going to be completely biased and give it a 5 out of 5. Um, I do think that like, you know, there are things that maybe could be uh taken away. I think you can, as far as like the ending, I do understand like if you want to sing out, definitely for people who were not growing up in the 70s or like alive to see this film come out in theaters, you know we would have to suffer at the hands of that song being constantly played in various different ways, places, commercials, all that kind of stuff. And so I do understand that like the song is tiring. However, this is a film for me that like if you remove like that overplay, I guess for me this is a film where I can't think of anything else you could add to make it better. And I think that's very rare for films. Like I think like a lot of times films can miss the mark of like, they didn't include this, or they left this out. And I think for the way that this is shot, it's awesome. The actors are super on point. The script is excellent. The comedy is there, and it hits you in surprising ways. And I think that is a element of comedy that is not utilized as much nowadays. Um, like the surprise factor. Um, and yeah, I adore this film. It's for a rom-com, it is excellent. And if you're someone who's like, no, I hate all romantic comedies, give this one a try because it'll make you change your mind.
Nice.
Definitely not your average rom com. I will
No,
state that.
not at all.
But yeah, get into it, Spooge. It's you. You got the floor.
All right, all right. So, despite my little, as I mentioned before, my little small nitpick, mainly that I don't usually get those too much, but I think it was because of how much I was taken in by this film, so that like when I kind of saw, like I thought I saw how it was gonna end there, like because he was playing the ukulele, I thought I kind of thought I saw how it was gonna, it was gonna be like, ooh, it's just playing the ukulele out, but then I kind of got got a little discouraged by the that same song again. This, if you want to sing out, which was just a nitpick. Doesn't affect my rating at all because I'd still say it's a 5 out of 5. Um, it's very unique film. Uh, I probably some of the best acting I've seen, uh, like like this year, of just like movies I've watched this year. Uh, I've been kind of annoyed with like, especially a lot of like newer things these days. I almost feel like, I don't know if it's just me, but with like some of the movies I've been seeing, like at just even the end of things in certain scenes of at my job where I work at the movie theater, of like some of today's films, I feel like we're almost like losing the ability to act with our actors. Like to
I kind
I
of
can I can
agree.
agree with that.
I totally
or at
agree.
least there's a trend of a type of acting that I just don't like that's taking place, which I think it's more, maybe a more accurate way of saying that. Um, but that people aren't believable anymore, like on screen. It's like completely like cartoonized. Um, but anyway, like this, it's not at all. Like even just like with the zany things, like the zany ass uh, mock magic tricks. Um, uh, he, I mean, like he just like, it's very like, I'm not gonna say he's underwhelming because that's not at all, but like he's very just like plays this character, the shy kind of awkward, uh, also spoiled and rich, which isn't like that's not played in a traditional way. Where he's just like, oh, he's just more of in just like kind of like how he's allowed to be this weird, without like getting bullied or anything.
Yeah,
He just
you
be a
can't
rich
really
kid.
bully them.
Yeah. Obviously, you get away with murder. um, but yeah, just in the way like how he acts, just you can kind of just see like almost, I don't know if I'm not even saying there's like a specific psychosis he's going for, but you could like see almost like you could start psychoanalyzing him pretty easy. You could, it's cool in that.
and it also made me kind of go on my a little side thing, because I think there's some things in this movie that hint to. There's a scene. I think it's sort of like the main. Shit, I can't think of words. uh, oh yeah, it's sort of the big evidence to my theory. Um, is when he's talking to the therapist again, and this is about when they find out that he's going to marry Maude, and the therapist is, has the picture of Freud behind him, and he's like, oh, this obviously is because you want to, is that you want to have a relationship with your mother, like have sex with your mother. But I think that's sort of like a half truth there, because I think in another scene where he's talking to Maude about his the first time he quote unquote magicked. And it wasn't he didn't perform this magic trick. Yeah, he didn't perform this magic trick. This was an accidental magic trick that happened when he was fucking around in a chemistry lab, caused an explosion. But he just like went home instead of like waiting for people to arrive, and so they assumed him dead, and he was just at his house looking down from the balcony, and his mom didn't know he was home, and the police came and they said that, oh, your son died in an explosion, and she like, was taken aback so much that she like collapsed. And that's where it totally gives evidence to like what he's seeking in a lot of these mock magic tricks, is obviously attention from his mother, or a type of because he gets attention from his mother, but it's a more controlling, like, oh, you're gonna be, I'm gonna building your future, and this is what you should do, and no, don't do that, do the, he wants to be accepted, and that's what he kind of finds. He finds this other cool mom that isn't related to him, so he could also bang. So, and yeah, that's like with the scenes of like him, and honestly, one of the main scenes too, like him trying to shove his head into that wooden thing of like pretty much a symbol of her vagina. Like that's him wanting her to be the mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
I could dig it.
Film analysis.
hey, you're pretty
Nice.
you're on the money on that, to be honest.
Thank you. So there's a little Freud in here.
Definitely, and wouldn't that also be what's the Greek poem?
Oedipus.
Oedipus, yes, a little
Oedipus,
Oedipus complex.
Yeah, but Freud is the one who I think in I think like of course the story of Oedipus, but I think Freud actually like coined that term from that story.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's an Oedipus complex is what it's called.
Yes.
Where it's
He
basically
definitely got
like
a tiny bit of it, because he's for sure trying to impress his mother with the magic tricks.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And like I think also in the scene when he goes and is like he's pretty much up front like saying like, oh, this is who I'm marrying. I feel like that's almost like a symbolic like breaking up with his mother.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
It's all about the mother. How's your relationship with your mother?
Yeah. Is that it? Is it time
Yeah.
for the outro?
Yeah, we can do outro.
All right. If you've been listening to us this long, this Loosey Goosey's been going on for quite a while. But if you have been, thank you so much. Please leave a like, comment what you think about this movie in the comment section, share it around with peoples that will help out. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And this is the part where I go, hey, does anybody got to sign off?
You know I do.
Go for it.
You ready for it?
Yeah.
All right. Vice, virtue. It's best not to be too moral. You cheat yourself out of too much life. Aim above morality. If you apply that to life, then you're bound to live life fully.
Nice.
Fuck yeah.
It's probably my most favorite quote of the film. Just it's so simple yet so just excellent, and it's great.
Very nice.
Tiz, what is yours,
Oh.
Spooge?
Oh yeah. I want to fuck my way to the garden because everyone needs a motherfucker.
And mine is Mod Fingered Harold. Oh, goodbye, folks.
Oh, Harold got fingered.
The two fingers.
Yep.
Brought it back to Elden Ring.
Are we gonna do a?
Nice.
Are we gonna do a bye bye?
Bye bye.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening this long.